Hey everybody, Johnny O from the Plot Hole, and it's time to get into a little bit of what's going on in the community. As you all know, I've got Team Skeptic here, and Shawn Hufford has agreed to join the panel to give his side of the story, answer some very difficult questions. As I understand it, there are people from both sides of the aisle in the chat. Please be respectful. I understand a lot of you may feel angry and upset about some of the goings on that you believe or may not believe that has happened. I'm asking you for tonight to put that aside and actually hear what the man has to say. I will not tolerate any bashing of any of the panel members tonight. You can talk shit about me all you want. I don't give a shit. But we are going to be respectful to each other. We're going to have an honest conversation, and we're going to do our best to get to the bottom of all of the accusations, whatever. So let me first bring in Team Skeptic and then Shawn Hufford.
What's up, people? Excuse me, man. My voice it sounded like I was trying to be cool there. What's up, people? How y'all doing tonight? This is the continuation of the saga that started last Wednesday, as most of y'all know. Some of the things. If you're here watching today, you know what happened. So we're not going to try to sugarcoat things or try to make things any better or worse than they actually are. We're just going to call it how it is tonight. We're going to, sit back and have an honest conversation. And all I'm going to ask is that any of my friends in the chat, whether they be, from one community or another community or a third community, or even the people that really don't fucking like me, I don't really care right now. Everybody needs to be cool with everybody else for an hour, for 2 hours. Just don't fight in the chat. Okay. There are questions that need to be asked. And of course, we're going to be we're asking our own questions, reading questions from the chat and whatnot. But if you guys are arguing, it's going to be hard for us to follow something that might be important in the chat. So please be polite to each other. And that's all I ask. ELE, everybody love everybody. Let's go.
Now, I'm going to do the best that I can to watch the chat for questions, but being as how I'm going to be kind of moderating this discussion and asking questions and whatnot, tag myself or JL Warren. If you have a question, of course, you don't have to super chat. This is a free channel, but if you do, I will read those. Now, again, anything that comes in that is going to be overly negative, I'll save that for the end, but I will read it out. Shawn, welcome to the show. I appreciate you doing this.
Hi, Johnny. I'm going to say thanks for letting me have this opportunity. I've been quiet for way too long. I've been avoiding this as much as I could because it doesn't make me feel good. A lot of people are probably going to hate me. I expect that. I'm not asking for any kind of forgiveness because I don't think I deserve it. But I at least want to be heard out. And 3 people have reached out asking me to come forward. First was Team Skeptic. First time he did it, he was drunk or drinking. And I didn't think that would be an appropriate time to do it. He then asked again the next day. And I was actually intending to call him after he went off air so I didn't screw up his stream. Unfortunately, my battery by the time he ended his stream was kind of dying. And I didn't want the call to be broken off from a dead battery and he think I ran from the call. So I waited until today to reach out to him. Plot Hole, you sent out a request to come forward. Irish Demon has also sent out a request that was, in my view, the most heartfelt. Unfortunately, I have no way of getting a hold of Irish Demon. So, again, today I reached out to Team Skeptic, and he suggested to go to the Plot Hole. I accepted. After I got off the phone with Team Skeptic, I called Red. So, since the news was going to come out, he had to find out what was actually going on as well. Because I have lied to a lot of people about one thing. And it's a clincher. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but if I'm given the opportunity, I'd like to explain the reasons. And I think that's what we're going to be doing here tonight.
Right. So I tell you what, let's start from the beginning. Let's start from, excuse me, the end of 2019 when you lost your job. Let's start there.
Just to offer correction, my job was lost in March of 2019, not at the end.
Okay. So we're at the beginning of 2019. Now, I can't remember if you told people you lost your job at the end of 2019. You did.
I told them when it happened. I told Reds the day that I got fired. It was literally within hours. At that
Okay.
time, I still had money saved up, no big deal. I was hoping to get a job before that funding ran out. Unfortunately, because my condition that I had, wasn't able to get one. Ended up doing a fundraiser because my bills were due. That took care of that for a while. Still wasn't able to find a job. Reds and Jared, I think this was in May. I told them that I had lost my electricity because I couldn't pay it. And with apparently my lease is out there. If you read the lease, if you lose your power, they'll evict you. They gave me a pass because Jared did a behind the scenes fundraiser to get that paid off. Team actually was involved in that when he actually gave $50 for that. Sorry, lost my train of thought.
Okay, so all right, so it was the beginning of 2019, not the end of 2019. You did come out with that, so it's okay. I'm just trying to
area of time, and you're immediately trying to jump up into August 22nd. So
That's
let's let Shawn work his way up, because that's a good question to be asked.
Yeah,
and it needs to be asked at the appropriate time. So go ahead, Shawn.
So we go up to August 2nd, where a fundraiser was held again because I still hadn't had a job and bills were coming due, and it was literally I had nothing for rent.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I do not mean to.
we're buffering.
Yeah, let's make sure that we get the internet worked out. And I'll go ahead and just mute it and play it live from my end so I can see when it's back up.
Yeah, I have no idea why we're buffering. Should be good, but
excuse me. I think we're good.
All right. Yeah, so everybody should be able to refresh, and that should take care of the buffering.
Okay. Again, back to August 2nd. Rent was due on the 4th. I didn't have enough left over from the previous fundraiser to cover it because I still hadn't had employment. So they did a fundraiser to get me through that month. And on the 20th or 21st, they both came together and says, we need to find a permanent solution. So it's just not fundraiser after fundraiser after fundraiser. So that's when we came up with the idea, let's get you out of that lease, get you down to Florida with Red. Because I did have a job offer with where Red was working. I talked to a manager when I was down there in Florida in February. And she was willing to hire me if I moved down there, which at that point, it was just kind of like a back burner kind of thing, because I still was employed at that time. And that became the solution, was break the lease, move to Florida, be with Red, get a job there. Well, so that was the August 22nd live stream. After that live stream, Jared asked a question that should have been asked during the live stream.
Hold on. This is where Johnny asked his question.
Okay.
I don't know if you already answered it. Go ahead, Johnny. Ask your question about the fundraiser.
Well, so the question was, whose idea was the fundraiser?
It was Jared and Red's to get a permanent solution so it wouldn't be just continuous fundraisers until I was somehow able to find a job where I was.
Now, when they approached you with this fundraiser idea, what was the idea? What was the goal of the fundraiser?
Was to be able to get out of the lease and not get sued, which obviously that didn't happen, and go down to someplace where I actually had a job offer.
Well, hang on a second. So by getting out of the lease, what you mean is you were to take that money and pay. You were trying to buy out your lease.
Initially, yes.
Okay.
And we'll get to that. So on the 23rd, we had a live stream on SciStrike's channel as a continuation. Some people are saying it was a separate $10,000 fundraiser for some stupid reason, because even at the beginning of the stream, we actually discussed where we were at the goal, and said, okay, this is how much more we need to complete it. We still didn't complete it. The fundraiser was never met. Started running into a serious problem because as more months were paid off of the lease, as you pay rent to the lease, that's less months to pay to buy at the lease. So that was a net zero. So let's say I paid in September for rent. That's one more month that's taken off of the total amount on the lease.
Mm-hmm. Now, as I understand it, your lease ended before the live stream, correct?
From my understanding, because I was actually sidewalled by Team Skeptic when I was talking to him today, because he said he had a copy of the lease and it said that it was something about August, September. But I had signed the lease in June because my move-in date was July 3rd. Every year was July to July. I don't know where August to September came from because, you're not going to reread your lease every freaking year. If you just ask them, has anything changed? No, you just sign it again, you're done. I waited 20 days because normally we'd have our lease signed on June 3rd, which is 30 days from the July 3rd renewal of the lease.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the lease was signed on July, I believe he said it was 23rd, Skeptic.
26. June 26 is when June 26 is when you sign the lease.
But yeah, they were getting on us because we were coming up to our lease deadline date, which was July 3rd. So I don't know what changed with this new lease, but for some reason they have it down as August to September, which isn't.
No, September to August. September 1st was when it started.
Well, in either case, those months were never on a previous lease because, again, move-in date was July 3rd, and you have to have an active lease to move in.
Well, so my question is, if you were on hard times, why didn't you just go month to month?
Because they didn't offer it, at least not to me.
In the lease, I believe there was an option for month to month, I believe.
No,
I can go back and review
standard.
it. Yeah, it's pretty standard. Even if it's at a slightly higher market rate, it's still available.
The problem with going month to month on a lease is that you have to worry about your rent could increase or decrease at any moment.
And working on no income. So,
well, right, but that would at least give you the freedom because if I remember correctly, Indiana, you have to give 3 months notice before you're going to break a lease if you're in a lease. But if you're month to month, then all you need is 30 days notice, which would have saved you a bit of money, a bit of scratch when it came time to getting on to Florida or wherever it is you were going to go.
Now I want to step in and say something right here because like one people. Okay, go ahead.
I can finish this question. So if you were you signed, you said you signed the lease in June, correct?
Yes. And Skeptic can actually back that up. It's actually on the lease that I signed it in June.
June 26th.
Okay, so if you signed June 26th, but you haven't had a job since March, and there were already talks of getting you moved out at that time, correct?
No, there wasn't.
Okay. Well, what is it you were going to add there, team?
Well, yeah, I was going to add that, this is going to be a point of contention with a lot of people who are, not on your side in this, Shawn, that the lease hadn't even started. And I know you say that you didn't know about it. And, to me, that is dumbfounding to me. Okay. Because anytime I sign a major contract like that, I almost always check the terms of the contract. The terms of the contract being that I know what day that I'm responsible for paying my first dollar, how much it's going to cost me per month, and what day is the day that I'm out. And I always look at there's an exit procedure to getting out of most contracts. Even when it comes to leasing, there's a lot of times like a company will still ask you to give a 30 days notice so that they know if you're going to be leaving at the end of your term. So some places will still ask you for that 30-day notice. And if you don't give it to them, then they could possibly try to take you to court and sue you for 1 extra month beyond the extent of your lease because they added that addendum in there and you weren't, you didn't do that addendum. So that is one thing it really bothered me and it's bothering other people because you probably could have just walked on that lease and nothing would have happened. And we could have still raised money for you to help you get wherever you needed to go. But you could have walked out of that lease. And whether you knew about it or not, it was kind of your responsibility to know about it.
I won't deny that.
So, yeah, that's definitely where we come in. And there are some discrepancies in your story that we're going to get to a little farther down as well. But this is kind of a big one here. I just don't understand why it would be responsible to sign a lease on a place when you didn't have a job.
Because I was gambling on being able to get a job.
I got you. I still think that the month-to-month option would have been the best, and it is your responsibility to know what's in your lease. That being said, I did get something incorrect. Indiana does have a reasonable requirement for landlords to relet as soon as possible. Now, there are arguments about what reasonable means.
It's a very vague term.
It is open to interpretation. However, the interpretation that most have given is that they have roughly 60 days to flip, clean up, fix whatever is messed, and then get it relet. So the option of let's back this up for a second. So when you realize that, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and go to Florida, why not approach your apartment complex and say, hey guys, look, I've got hard times. I've got a job offer in Florida. What can we do to make a reasonable agreement so you guys don't sue me? I can at least, get you some money for, whatever, be it, hey, I'm going to move in December. So how about I pay you through December plus a month and a half or a month and a third or a month and 3/4 or whatever, to give them that time for that, paying the reletting fees, paying a portion of the lease, and then you just come to an agreement that way. Why not approach the apartment complex?
Because personal experience from one of my our next door neighbor, he lost his job and he went and told them about it. They literally said, well, you got to pay your rent by Friday or we're just going to evict you. They didn't work with him at all. So I was just basing my entire what do I need to do with these people on that.
All right. So then on the flip side, when you secure how much money did the fundraiser gain?
$7,480 even.
All right. So $7,480. Why not go to the apartment complex and say, hey, I've got 10 months worth of rent. I want to buy my contract out. What can we do? What kind of,
because at the time, I thought the lease was from July to July. With the 10 months left, it would have been $7,450, which left nothing for utilities. I had no income, which left nothing for.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is
the whole thing was I had to go, but it would have taken everything of that to move that day. I would have been beaten feet.
Right. But here's the thing. I'm willing to bet that if you would have went to the apartment complex and said, hey, here's all of my lease up front. I have to move to Florida or move to wherever to get, secure my employment. I'm not trying to leave you guys out in the lurch. I'm trying to handle up on at least the lease portion. I'll be gone by whatever date. I'm willing to bet they would have worked with you on something. I'm willing to bet they wouldn't have said, nah, we don't want your $7,500. We want you to suffer, because as it turns out, they settled for something a lot less than $7,500.
Well, I don't know, because I wasn't even aware of the court case at all until that guy started bragging about Shawn's got a court record. So I looked it up, and sure enough, there was my first inclination that we had a court record going on.
You had to know you were getting evicted, right?
Yeah, but I didn't know how much I didn't know they were going to be suing me for.
But an
exorbitant amount of money.
Yeah, but when you get evicted, you know that it's not just a landlord can't just evict a tenant. They have to go through the court process. So, you had to know at some point that there was going to be a public record of your eviction, that anybody, even your most critical people out there, are going to look into to see if you did what you did.
Well,
you had to know there was a court date for yourself.
When I checked, when the whole BM Furball thing happened in April, I couldn't find anything on it. So I didn't think that it ever went through, because I was literally just up and gone end of November, beginning of December.
Okay, so let's get to that point, because that's
that's kind of where I want to get on that.
I want to ask you something. When BM Furball, I hate to be the one to continue to ask hard questions, but when BM Furball asked you if you paid that rent and you said you did, you outright lied to us.
Yes.
To everybody that was there. Well, that needs to be addressed.
A little bit. Yeah, we're jumping the gun. So that's kind of I'm curious as to find out what actually happened, because in the information that I've dug up, teams dug up, and a couple other people have dug up, you didn't pay anything to the apartment complex. You kind of just took the fundraiser money and tucked tail and run.
And actually, that's not true.
Okay, so what is the truth then?
The truth is, simply put, the fundraiser was supposed to be an ongoing thing until the goal was met. September 15th, I paid September's rent, which would have taken another month off of the lease. But September 15th rolled around, and I had to deal with utilities because they were going to get shut off again if I didn't pay it. Mm-hmm. Only means I had to pay that was from the fundraiser money. Because if I would have lost power, they weren't going to give me a second pass on power being shut off. They were just going to evict then, which would have ruined everything. So then we started to have talks about when to continue this fundraiser, because, the loss of, $250 wasn't that big of a deal, but something we needed to finish out the fundraiser. So I could just get up and go before another month went by and had to deal with more utilities.
But if you had raised the $7,500, why not just use that money to pay the utilities and then pay some of the, use the money as it was supposed to have been used, as it was designated to, that the reason why you said you were asking for this money.
Because my understanding was the lease had to be bought out in full.
Right, but again, if you're paying, hang on a second.
No, you wanted to ask a question. You're gonna have it answered. I'm sorry.
Well, but you're not answering the question that I'm asking.
I'm trying to
answer. You're answering a different question. The question is, if the community is putting together this money to keep you afloat until you can get moved to Florida to move in with Reds and take that job down there, I'm sure that no one would have batted an eyelash had you said, "Hey, I'm paying the rent month to month as I can, and I had to pull some out to use for utilities so I didn't get shut off while I get my stuff together, while I get my plan of action together to get down to Florida." I don't think anybody would have had a problem with that.
In fact, that's what I suggested in the first live stream, Shawn. And when I said, well, I even made a point. I said, I would actually be slightly unethical here and put survivability over paying rent, 10 months worth of rent in advance. I said, you could always collect all that money and then pay 1 month at a time and tell them, say, look, I'm moving to Florida, and put that $745 for 10 months, put that in an account and send them a check until they have somebody to fill that spot. You didn't even have to be there. You could have done your walkout, and they could have, your walk through at the end, before they do the make ready. You could have done that walkout with them, and it still paid them $745 every month, and you wouldn't have had to come back to do a second walkout because they'd have already done that with you. You'd have already finished the move out process, and you could have told them, I need out of the lease. Fill the place, because they'd rather have somebody there than not have somebody there, right? So fill the place. I'm going to pay month to month until you do, but just let me know when you do, and then I'll stop sending you a monthly check. And then you could, and at that point, nobody in the community would have said shit about the money you would have saved. Nobody would have said anything.
Right.
And again, it goes back to my understanding of what the law was, which is in contention now because it depends on which lawyer you ask, apparently.
But you're still looking at it from the perspective of you having to pay the full amount of rent to get out of the thing. What I'm saying,
we're talking about my mindset at that time. Are we not?
Shawn, give me a second. Let me reiterate why I'm saying this. In both scenarios, you end up spending the same amount of money for 10 months worth of rent. In one scenario, the scenario I suggested to you was that you do that 1 month at a time, so that way, in case 4 months down the road you get out of the lease, you don't have to pay the other 6 months. You just keep that, and you would have still been out of the lease. It still wouldn't have been an eviction. You still would have been, and you would have had extra money. And that's all. The only reason I suggested you do that was because, to me, that was logical. And you're a logical person.
But that's where we differ, because my understanding of the law at that time was different.
No, I understand, but Shawn, you're living there, right? You're still occupying the unit. So I mean, like you said a minute ago, you took out and paid September's rent, which deducted 1 month from the ultimate buyout, which tells me that you had that thought process. I just don't understand why you didn't extend that thought process.
Because you still had to keep utilities active, which would have had to come from somewhere. And then you still got to deal with, I have to be able to eat.
Again, and I'm willing to bet that if you would have asked everybody who donated in that live stream, hey guys, look, I need to survive. I need to live. I got to have some food. And I guarantee you there's not a single person who put so much as a nickel in there that would have said, no, that's bullshit. No, absolutely. We are human beings. We understand. I guess that's the reason why this has been so difficult for people to kind of grasp. There seems to be a logical step of a logical chain of events that didn't happen.
And I was trying to get to that, but I keep getting pulled back to one point.
Okay. Let's get there. Let's get to that explanation.
So again, September 15th rolled around, had to pay utility. We've already covered that. September 18th, Jeff died. I immediately stopped all fundraiser activity. Period. Over, done with. I put it all on hold because we had to deal with Side Strike's death. After no set time period, when I was asked again to pick that back up, it was already in the middle of October, which means I had paid another month of rent, I've paid another month of utilities, and we're still trying to eat. If I was to do a fundraiser at that point, we would have had to ask for even more money than $10,000 total. I didn't want to do that. I said no. So to keep it to where everybody would think it would be okay, I simply came up with a lie. I paid the lease and, finished out a move, got a job. I did move. I did get a job. But there was not enough to pay out the lease, because at this time I still had the firm thought that I had to pay a lease in full. I still think that, mind you. But Skeptic had obviously another way of doing it that I didn't think was going to fly in Indiana. Simply put, me not wanting to do another fundraiser forced me to do this lie. Now, some people are saying this $3,000 fundraiser that Jessica held in March, when we had to get a deposit for an apartment or for a house at that time. Jessica set that fundraiser up on March 3rd. She threw the idea at me. I told her not to do it. Let me reach out to some people, see if I can get a loan to cover the deposit, because it was unexpected. We had 48 hours notice that we had to get a deposit for something. I reached out. I actually forwarded an email to a Team Skeptic, to somebody I actually asked for a loan, so we wouldn't have to do a public fundraiser. After I sent that email, I was told that fundraiser was live. That almost cost me and Jessica the relationship, because I told her not to do it. I didn't reach out to anybody else then, because it defeats the purpose. It undermined me trying to get loans instead of a fundraiser. Skeptic, you got that email. What was the date that I sent that out? It was March 4th.
Let me pull it up just to verify.
March 4th of 2020, correct?
Yes. Because I did not want to deal with a public fundraiser.
4th,
I wanted to keep it behind the scenes with a loan. The only thing that saved that relationship was because the Athens came forward and says, "Here, I'll let you borrow the money." He said that to her because she was the one that did the fundraiser publicly. That's the only thing that saved the relationship for that, because I told her specifically not to do it because there's all this stuff, and I was already feeling guilty enough about lying about paying the lease. But there just simply wasn't enough money left to do that between bills and eating.
Can I ask something, Shawn? And this is a personal thing to ask. When looking back on this, okay, I still think the same way I thought the day that we had this initial conversation. Now, the way I remember things, and I could get these facts wrong, but the way I remember things is that Jared reached out to me and said, "Hey, Shawn needs our help today." And I said something along the lines of, "Count me in." I had no idea what I was getting into when I got there.
Right.
I knew you needed help, but I was not previously aware before I stepped onto that stage as to what was about to go down. And this is not admonishing myself of any wrongdoing or responsibility. I'm just making the record straight here. I was not fully aware that we were about to ask for $10,000 from the crowd. Correct? Okay. So when we were going through this and I was making my point, things kept going through my mind. I was like, what is his intent here? Why? Like, I can understand if we said, when I pointed out, I said, "Hey, we have another option that we can do," and maybe your mindset wasn't the same. I don't know how you were thinking, and I don't know what was going on in your mind. But what was there that made you do something so illogical? Because even when you describe it to me today, it still seems like it's such an illogical, that there was no way that this person who I held in such high regard for his ability to critically think, going down this path of illogical positions, illogical fucking actions. And I just
Because-
want to know what the intent was when you said, "Hey, let's do this."
Because my understanding of the law was you buy out a lease, and if they rent it out, or at the point they rent it out, they would reimburse whatever was not covered or whatever the new tenant would take over. That was my understanding of the law.
But that's not what you said that day, though.
Right.
That day you said, I'm doing this to keep it off my credit and to do all these other things, which
Because if you buy out a
still-
lease, it doesn't go on your credit. It doesn't go on as an eviction. But I
Right,
wasn't
but you
able to
could've-
do that.
But you still could have put up your 30-day notice or 60-day notice, and they would have still been required to go seek out a new tenant. And even if you had to pay 4 months worth of rent, that would have saved you on another additional 6. Like the whole time when we were having this discussion, it kept going through my mind. Why are we doing this? Why is he not seeing this? I wasn't going to make a big deal of it, and I should have. I should have made a much bigger deal of it that day, but I didn't. And that's on me. But I just don't understand what the ultimate goal was there. Why did we have to ask for so much money?
That definitely. I mean, it's a exorbitant amount of money. I mean, $7,500 in itself, but 10 grand was the original goal, and it just there are a lot of, forgive me, but there are a lot of plot holes in your story, and it's not adding up. I can see where you might have been under the understanding that you had to buy out the lease. I can see where that could have been part of the thought process. But even still, let's say you don't have this fundraiser. It's going to go on your credit regardless. Why not? I mean, I just understand, why not be honest with everyone up front to begin with? Hey, look, we didn't get to where I thought we were going to get to. I've been using the money to pay the rent and pay the utilities and get, little things here and there while getting my stuff together, getting my move together.
The answer to that's really simple. Every time that I get in some kind of financial issue, everybody wanted to hold a fundraiser for me. Every single time. I didn't want another one, which is why I never picked it back up after Jeff died.
Right, but see, you already had that. You already had the one that garnered quite a bit of money. I mean, it's almost $10,000, almost $8,000. We'll call it $7,500.
And then 3 months later, when it would have had to say, "Well, I'm sorry, I need this much more now," I didn't want that.
Well, so here's the thing.
But you also said you were anticipating.
Hang on a second, team. So the originally $7,500 would have been enough to. I mean, even if you were doing, you were just saying, hey, month, right? If you were to take that $7,500, that's 10 months worth of rent. Now, let's say we're going to take 2 months of rent off of there to take care of utilities and food over the course of 8 months. Wouldn't that have been a better use or a better, avenue to go down?
Well, with rent and utilities and food, we were averaging $1,500 a month.
Okay, so what, 7,500? Let's see here. $1,500 a month, $7,500. We're talking what, 5 months? We couldn't have figured out how to get you to Florida in less than 5 months.
Well, that was the whole point of getting this done as quickly as possible. So it would have been taken care of. I would have no money missing. It would have just been one.
Right, but here's the thing: you had the $7,500. Pay them, move your shit.
If I would have paid them, I'd have had no money to move.
Hey guys, I took that $7,500 from the fundraiser that we had. I bought out my rent. Now I'm in the process of getting all my stuff down.
With what money?
Does anybody have a truck they can help out with? I mean, the community just gave you $7,500. I don't think they had a problem helping you out.
Nor do I think that they would have had a problem helping you out again if that was the case and you needed help getting down to Florida. Shawn, you know how we work in this community.
Yeah, and
you
that's
would have done that.
You had already had to swallow your pride to accept the fundraiser, the original. I don't think, like I said, and here's another thing that's real kind of shaky for me is when you decided, all of a sudden to move, instead of going to Florida, you moved in with Cy Strickling. That's New Jersey, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What was that? What was the catalyst for that change? As I understood it, you had a job to go to in Florida.
Yes, I did. Or at least I did while Red was still living where he was. I met Cy Strickling during Jeff's memorial. A couple of days later, she talked to me, or she messaged me and wanted to thank me for everything, and we ended up starting talking. October 31st, we decided this could actually be a relationship. So it was we were talking for about a month, and we decided to start a relationship. At this point, I was trying to be talked out of going to Florida because Reds had moved and had gotten himself another roommate. This has been quiet. I told Reds I was going to bring this out because this is what happened. He didn't say no, but he was doing his best to talk me out of it.
So you were under the understanding that Red's rhetoric was no longer an option.
It was not a good one because I didn't know what kind of living situation he was in anymore. I didn't know if there was going to be just, here's a couch, you have a week to find a place to go. I don't know what was going on, but he hinted that it wasn't a good idea to come to Florida. I didn't want to out him out for that because, you know, it's kind of a shitty thing to do.
So it was Red's rhetoric's choice for you not to go down to Florida.
He never outright said it, just to be clear. He just says, do you think you can find someplace else to go, somewhere down here? The roommate thing was just looking as it was going to fall apart.
Okay. And now you changed and you go to New Jersey. What were you going into New Jersey that you didn't have going into Florida?
Well, one, a relationship. I'm not going to deny that. You know, it was an actual relationship that was going on. When I went to Jersey, it was a round trip flight. It was for 10 days, mainly to see if this person was what they were like talking to me online compared to being in person. See if could I see a future with this person? Am I going to be able to survive in the same household with this person? Are they going to be totally against my personality when I get there? That's what that was for, was to see if that was going to work. And that's when on day, I went there on the 16th, 17, 18, 19, 20. So 4 days of being there, I noticed I had a $300 withdrawal from the ATM back in Indiana. Didn't know what the hell it was for, but I knew who did it, because only one other person had a card, the primary account holder. So I was like, okay, maybe they're just doing their own thing. The next day, there was a $480 withdrawal from the same ATM. We literally waited for Jessica to get off work. We hopped in the van, went back to Indiana to try to recover that because I knew what was going on at that point. She was draining the account. I've showed screenshots of this while I was in Jersey. We get back there. She's leaving to go get on a bus with one suitcase out of everything she's had in Indiana for the last 20 some years. She's leaving with one suitcase. We have the dog with us. It's her dog. So we have a van that we have to leave room for the dog. At this point, I know that I'm just completely screwed. There's no money left to move, nothing. So we pack up what I can, which, mind you, I've lived in Indiana for, at this point, 30 years. So I have quite a lot of shit. I'm able to take 3 totes, clothing, some electronics, and a dresser. Or not, the dresser was actually on the second trip. So it was 3 totes, and basically clothes and electronics that I was able to fit in there. Get that back to Jersey. We come back a little bit later to try to get more stuff. But 90% of my stuff was left there. It's not just a desk. It's, 2 people's collections of 20 plus years of stuff that got left. Because on the second trip, I was able to get a couple more totes with some more clothes and a dresser. The dresser was on the second trip, but we still had to have.
How much do these trips cost you each time?
Yeah,
how much do these trips, because you could have paid a mover.
The first trip cost us about $400 in gas and food, and that came out of Jessica's money because I had jack shit left. The second trip was about $500, and that again came out of Jessica's money. So we're looking.
Wait a minute. So this was in the first trip happened when, in March?
November 23rd, I think.
Of 2019.
Let me check. Yes.
Okay, so that's when you would have had access to the fundraiser funds, correct?
When I went to Jessica's, after paying for the flight, there was $1,100 in the bank. Period. That's been shown, but there's still a narrative going around that it was $10,000.
Okay, yeah, I can understand that. It was because that was the original goal. So, right.
Well, no, he's flat out said, I've given Jessica $10,000. He's also said that I've given Red's Rhetoric $10,000. I've also given Craig $10,000.
Yeah, I think that's a conspiracy theory.
A lot of conspiracy bullshit, which is why I'm here tonight, to straighten that shit out. Out of everything he said, he's gotten one nugget of shit right. One.
Now, Shawn, I've got a couple of questions, and we're going to step back for just a moment to a few things. Number one, you said that when you signed the lease in June, you did that because you were anticipating getting a job.
Yes.
And then you said, when we did the fundraiser, that was the last fundraiser you were doing, and you didn't want to do any more because you were, I think it was when Johnny O brought up something about, we could have just brought up new fundraisers, or we could have done what we need to do to help you. And you were like, I didn't even want to do fundraisers anymore. I don't want to do them anymore. Well, if you were anticipating getting a job, then don't you think that you would also be anticipating not having to do fundraisers anymore? I mean, this is not like you're not what I guess what the purpose of asking is to say that some of these excuses that you're giving are not consistent with what you previously believed. You previously believed you were going to get a job, so you wouldn't be having to ask for fundraisers. You wouldn't be missing out on lease payments, and now you're saying, well, I didn't want to do this because I thought it was going to put me in a position to have to ask for more fundraisers. Well, at what point did you stop anticipating that you were going to get a job?
That was the one where it was just finally get out of Dodge, get down to Florida. That's where it was decided, give up trying to find a job there. You're not going to find one.
But then you went somewhere where you didn't have a job.
But I had a job within a month. Where I was at,
right? But I think you're misunderstanding the point that team is making there. Is that you went to a place that you had. I mean, regardless of whether or not you got a job within a month, there was no guarantee. There was no prospect, as we understand, no prospect for a job. But you had one secured in Florida. Now I understand why you made the move to New Jersey. I mean, romance and whatnot. I understand that, but this is part of the reason why people have such an issue with this is because there's, I don't want to say bait and switch, but it almost seems like a bait and switch type of scheme that's going on here.
No.
And I have one more thing I want to ask before we move on, but go ahead and finish answering what addressing with Johnny if you do want to. But I have something else I need to bring up and ask you about.
No, it wasn't a bait and switch. I didn't tell people I was getting involved with Jessica because I was still able to get someplace where I was able to get a job. Yes, I didn't have a job secured, but then again, at this point, I didn't know if I had a job secured in Florida either because Reds had moved. I don't know how far away he was from where he was. I don't know if he was still employed at the same place. Everything at that point was up in the air with Reds. So,
right, but you had a job, right? I mean, there was an offer. You said you had a job offer as soon as you moved down to Florida.
Yeah, at the same place Reds was working. If Reds was no longer working there, I no longer knew if that job was secured. I didn't have contact with that manager after the point of meeting them in February.
Okay, but you've also okay. So you said you only had one point of contact of meeting them, and I remember you saying something about I already met the lady who I got a job in Florida. I already met the lady. They already, they're good with me and the person that I am, and and you know what I'm talking about. Like we had these discussions that there's no point in bringing up old stuff like that just for whatever. You know what I mean? We know what we're talking about here. So why would that? Like, why would it in I guess when in August, you were confident that you had this job. What changed about that in between the time of August 22nd and the time that you decided that you were going to go to New Jersey instead of Florida?
No, the decision to go to New Jersey instead of Florida was done in November. That's, like I said, that's what the whole flying out there was to determine.
So in a month and a half, what changed about your understanding about whether you were going to have a job or not based on your one interaction with this lady 8 months prior or 6 months prior, I guess, at that point?
It was more the point of not knowing if I was going to have a place to go.
So
Fred's
New
already offered
Jersey,
that to you, didn't he?
well,
What?
okay. So New Jersey had offered you at least a place to live. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
I had, if it worked out with me and Jessica during that trip, I had a place to live.
Okay, well, I have a second a follow-up question because I personally have not had a chance to read through this lease, and it was made aware that on page 20 of your lease, there's actually let me get the subsection number here real quick for you, just so I can in case you're following along. Shawn.
I don't have the lease. I can't follow
Okay,
along.
okay. I can send that to you if you'd like. Okay, but or I'll just read it. It's no here. You know what? Let me do something real quick, and you guys can see it. There you go. You should be able to see it now, Shawn. And if you need to make me full screen for Shawn, or Shawn can pin me.
Because I don't know how to full screen you.
Okay, well, it says buyout procedures. You may buy out this lease contract prior to the end of the lease term and cut off all liability for paying rent for the remainder of the lease term if all of the following can occur. You give them a written notice of 30 days, which it says right there. And then all the other normal yada, yada, yada. But right here in F, it says you pay us a buyout fee, which in parentheses is consideration of $1,500. This is an agreed to liquidated amount covering only part of our damages. That is our time, effort, and expense in finding and processing a replacement, and is not a penalty, but a separate bargain for consideration promised by you to us in exchange for our entering into this addendum with you. Okay.
I'll be honest. I've actually not paid attention to that part before. I did not know about that.
Well, see, but the issue is, had you spoken with the landlord or with the front office, with the leasing office, I'm sure they would have said, hey, you have this option available to you.
Well, like I said, the only experience I've had with them about people not having a job is immediate eviction.
Right, but that was one. I mean, I don't know that. I don't know that experience because I mean, obviously I wasn't there to witness it. I don't know if there was any extenuating circumstances, if there was something that was already on with that other tenant who, who knows? There could have been a number of things that were going on with that tenant that it came up to immediate eviction. However, had you come up to him at the time that you had got all that money, that $7,500, hey guys, I want to work something out so I can break this or I can move out. I got this, that, and the other going on. This is what I need to do. They would have said, hey, here's a clause here, $1,500, and we'll get you, we'll move on amicably.
If I would have seen that, I would have definitely taken that option. Hindsight's 2020.
Well, but see, this is not a hindsight's 2020 thing. This seems to be a little irresponsible.
I'll give you that. I will definitely not skirt that. That's definitely on me.
So I think you owe the people whom put that money in your pocket a bit more of an explanation other than, yeah, I should have done that. I mean,
but what can I say? I that's the first time I've read that section. I don't know. I didn't know about it. Otherwise I would have gone that route because it would have been a hell of a lot easier. I would have been able to meet the goal without a problem.
So okay. So here we go. This is the reason why I took up this story, because when things like this happen in this community, it casts doubt on everybody else. Right. So I'm involved in organizations that do charity live streams in the community. We've raised money and, we donate the money that we raise and whatnot. But stuff like this makes it difficult for us to be able to have success without being called into question. And call me into question, that's fine. I have receipts. I can prove, I can show, I can do everything. That's not a big deal. But when we have people whom aren't properly vetted, and this is a situation that it seems as if the people, AT2, Jared, even team, you guys didn't properly vet what was going on here. And again, you're more than welcome to offer your rebuttal to this team. But I just don't understand why these questions weren't asked of Shawn. Shawn, were these questions asked of you?
This one, no.
No, we never asked. So yeah, I felt personally culpable after looking at all the facts. Like, number one, I didn't even know that Shawn was evicted. I thought he just paid it all off. That's what was happening. I don't really watch a lot of Unirock stuff, so I didn't even see that this was going on. Only about maybe a month ago, maybe more, but around a month ago, I was made aware of the Indiana court records, and that was by Negative Exponents. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for anybody. Negative knows that, you know, everybody should know now that every most of the things I'm getting from Negative Exponents. But one thing I'm not getting from him is his opinion. I ask him if he wants to give me something to look at. It must be something that I can find for myself if I look hard enough. And that's every time that's how it's come. He's pointed me to where to go to find it myself. So everybody out there that's blaming him or thinking that I'm over here like listening to all the Unirock stuff and taking notes and using these notes for myself, that's not going on, right? Everything that's been done, I've gone and done myself. And when I found out about it, that's when I said, okay, what does this mean? I went so far as to ask someone who was a lawyer and say, look, you know, I didn't tell him the details. I said, this is the situation. I need you to tell me how a person ends up in this predicament given this situation right here. And I explained to him what went on. I said, the person comes in, they pay 10 months of rent, and they still end up with $2,350 as a judgment against them, you know. And he was like, well, when did all this happen? I said, well, it happened a few months after he supposedly paid the rent. And then he was like, that doesn't make sense. He immediately said, that doesn't make sense. You would have to have an arrearment of so much money that what they would end up doing is when they took all your money and then processed you out, all the rest of the money that they owed you for would not have been enough to cover, let's say, damages or previous rent that you owed, previous utilities that you owed. It's possible, but it's highly, highly, highly unlikely. The most likely scenario is what exactly we're discussing here tonight, you know, and that's why I spoke up, because when I came to that conclusion, I looked back on it and said, well, fuck, it doesn't matter that I spoke out against this. It doesn't matter. I stayed in there. I didn't go, hey, well, you know what? I can't get behind this. I'm out of here. I said to myself, hey, let me go, like in Red's video, let me go wash my face so I can be on screen, on screen to help support you, because I just did it, because you were my friend and I believed you without even thinking that something else was going on other than that. For that, I'm culpable. And this is my best attempt to make right with the people that I care about in the community. The people who, at this point, and I'm not saying this to be mean or angry at you, Shawn, but they got taken for their money. That's just the only way you can see it. And I felt bad for it. And I'm glad you're coming out and telling your side so that people can stop asking about it. Because while I was drunk and everything in the moment, there's, you know, it needed to be talked about. And people were out there that had questions that didn't have a place to ask, that didn't have anybody standing up for them other than Unirock, and they don't like Unirock. So they kind of felt like they were in the fucking dark.
So this is interesting. This is interesting here. Janie the Terrible says both Reds and BM Furball checked Shawn's receipts and confirmed the landlord was paid his $74.50 back in May of 2020.
I'm going to contest that because Furball saw no. He asked about it, and he actually pointed out there's no receipt. So to make that claim, that can't be true if he's already said if not having a receipt is going to be a problem. That should tell you that Furball never said he saw a receipt. Neither did Team. To claim that is not true. Just gonna.
I don't know that to be true or not. I do know for a fact.
No, they just made a positive claim that you lied because you guys said you saw a receipt. No one has ever said that, ever. Furball even pointed out the fact that the lack of a receipt could be a problem. He actually stated that. To say that he said something else is a lie. I'm just going to say that. Don't try to bury somebody else because they said something different than what you're claiming they said.
Yeah, but what I remember was him asking you for it, you giving us a story as to why you couldn't get it, and BM Furball saying you understand that this is going to be a point that they can attack you from.
Right. Because
That's
he
what
had never
I remember.
claimed, because he never claimed to see a receipt.
Okay.
Never
I don't know for a fact on the other part. I just remember that part right there of them saying you don't have a receipt. So I don't remember them saying that that they saw a receipt themselves. I just don't remember that.
Why would he say that if he's ever said he saw a receipt? Just saying.
Janie said BM said he saw the receipts in the PayPal account.
No, he saw what PayPal was being used for because he actually got to be able to see that. And it was all for Grubhub because I don't have a car, or at least I didn't have at the time, and for DoorDash because that was what we were using to eat. And then Walmart finally opened up delivery service and we were able to eat for a little bit cheaper.
So, Shawn, have you ever been evicted before?
There was one eviction attempt back on Kinsey Street where she went to a lawyer and says we didn't pay her rent, and then we took our receipts to her lawyer, and the lawyer dropped the case.
Okay, so you've been through this type of process before.
Well, no, and it never made it to court because the lawyer dropped the case because she lied to the lawyer because
we were able to submit evidence that showed that you paid. Okay, yeah. I was just curious. I was curious to see if you had been through this type of process before.
No.
So, in a nutshell, what did you spend the money on? You spent it on a couple of months' rent, from what I understand.
Utilities and food.
Utilities and food. So $7,500, and then you said in.
Oh, hold on. I can't leave this out. Utilities, food, and then the flight to CJC.
Okay. So $7,500 in rent, flight, food, utilities between
$6,400 just to make it accurate because it was still $1,100 when I got to JC.
Okay. So $6,400 was spent, and you went to see. You said in November.
I thought that Deb took that money from you. I thought you said Deb took the rest of your money from you, and that's why you needed more.
When I went to CJC, there was $1,100 sitting in the bank. While I was there for the umpteenth time, while I was there, and there are screenshots to prove this that are on Twitter, and Unirox bragged about how I had access to a bank account I don't have access to. She took out $300 one day, $400, $480 out the next day, and we drove back to Indiana instead of waiting the extra 6 days for my return flight to try to get that money back.
Wasn't part of the fundraiser to help Deb get back anyway?
Yes.
Okay. And how much were you planning of the $10,000 you were asking for? How much of that was set aside to get Deb back?
That was part of the move because the original plan was to go straight from Indiana, drop her off in Georgia, continue on to Florida. It just changed to drop her off in Georgia, then go to Jersey.
Okay. So you were still planning on driving her all the way down to Georgia yourself before heading. Okay. I just wanted to clarify on that. I didn't know what your position was on that.
Yeah,
or what you had planned for
the $300 that she took out the first day, I assumed was going to be for a bus trip because she didn't want to just deal with all that. When she took the $480 out, I knew that she was just going to try to drain the bank account because she only could take out a certain amount per day on the ATM. So if I'd have waited another day, the bank account would have been completely dry. That's why I went back to Indiana to stop that. I went out and got the money before she got up.
So you said that at the time you didn't have a vehicle. I'm assuming that was Cy Streichling who drove you?
Yes, that was her van.
Okay. So when were you completely depleted of funds from this?
On the drive back, on the second trip.
Which was?
On, I believe it was December 7th. Let me check my calendar.
So December of 2019.
Yes.
And you received when did you receive the funds, the bulk of the funds from the?
Within the first 3 days of the fundraiser being done.
So that was when?
August. End of August.
Okay. I'm just trying to math this really quick. If you were saying it took about roughly $1,500 to live, how did you have $1,100 left in December when that was about 5 months down the road?
September, October, November. That's 3 months.
Okay.
It's
And then
literally
you said December, right?
no,
So you
December rent was not paid. Because
okay, so that's okay. All right. Okay.
There wasn't enough left to pay December rent.
So in 3 months, you burned through $6,000
Yes.
on rent, food, and utilities, and
Yes.
a plane ticket.
And a plane ticket.
That's kind of. I mean, it doesn't. I don't know if I'm the only one here, if I'm way out of line, but that just doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem to add up. 754 or even 740, 760, even if it's $1,000 for the rent. If we're $1,500 a month for utilities, food, and rent, that's only $4,500. There's an additional $2,000 that's not accounted for.
3.
Well, he said 6. He said he had 65. Well, I was okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
see, that's right. No, he had 65
right, because the
plus 11.
1,000. Right.
Yeah, so it's 3. It's a good question. Like, and I understand. Hey, nobody's asking you to detail out your life right now. Okay, nobody's asking you to do that. We're not saying show me receipts for all the food you got, and we need to make sure that your food that you bought was, economy food. Nobody's asking you to do that.
No,
But the numbers aren't necessarily adding together. And I'm doing it over here in my head, trying to figure it out, figure a way to make it sound right. Because even at like you said, even at like 50, I live in a pretty decent house. It costs more than that to live here. But when you take my son into account and you portion some of that off for him, I do pretty well at about $1,500 to $2,000 a month. And that's me eating as much as I want, having, not being frugal. If I want to be frugal, I can get away with $1,100 to $1,200 a month to live off of. Now, nobody's asking you to do that, but if you're in a position where you're not really able to help yourself out, you should kind of be frugal.
Well, that would have been my first choice, but again, no car, so we were stuck getting delivery food, which is expensive as fuck because they have their delivery. Try to go to Grubhub. Seriously. I'm just ballparking average of $1,500 a month. I didn't keep a second by second accounting of everything. I can say that with total honesty.
Okay. All right. So ballparking 1,500. That's still. I mean, a $2,000 discrepancy is a pretty big discrepancy. Are there no other, gambling debts or
No.
extracurricular activities that may have taken from these funds?
No.
All right, so I think now we're past the we've gotten past the part of getting to New Jersey. Okay.
Excuse me.
We did a live stream after all that was done where I asked this earlier. We said we'd wait until this point, but you outright lied about paying that rent off. You just told us, just straight up to everybody who was listening, everybody on the panel, BM Furball said, you gave hard cash check $7,450 to your landlord. And you said, yep. And Red says, interesting how that works. That's exactly how it went, how it played out. Why did you lie to us?
Because I didn't want to.
Why did you think we were dumb enough to get away with it?
Right.
That's not what I thought at all, Skeptic, but that's a good straw man that you just put in there. Or I'm sorry, poisoning the well.
Well, that's not poisoning the well. That's a legitimate question because a lot of the people in the community they're pissed about this, that you didn't, well, I'm not going to say you didn't think that. It appears that you didn't think that we were, or they were intelligent enough to put 2 and 2 together.
No, the simplest answer I can give for that is I didn't want to make people think like they failed on the fundraiser. I'm the one that failed on that because I never picked it back up to complete it. It didn't get completed fast enough, and that is on me. I didn't want to make anybody else feel bad about not getting it done. And that's the simplest answer.
For everything we criticize,
hang
for
on a
everything
second.
we criticize flat earthers for, that's, we got to criticize ourselves harder. We can't do this to ourselves. We can't do this to our people when we act like we're better than flat earthers. We need to be better than flat earthers. They do this shit. We don't.
I mean, you have to remember what was going on at the time. I had a dozen and a half BS conspiracies being spewed, and they were BS.
Well, right. So why not put that shit to bed? Hey, Reds and Team and AT2 and a couple other people, they kind of put their neck on the line for it. Why not come out and say, hey, look, guys, look, this is all bullshit. I fucked up. I didn't do this right. I didn't achieve the goal that I needed to achieve. So that threw a monkey wrench in my whole plans. The thing with Red's rhetoric didn't seem like it was going to pan out the way that I thought it was going to pan out. So why not come out and at least save the reputation of Red's rhetoric and Team Skeptic and everybody else who put their neck out on there to help you get these funds?
Because I felt I was in a no-win situation.
Well, sure, but how has that worked out?
It's pretty much committed my YouTube aside, is the way I worded it earlier today.
Right, and here's the thing. I'm not here to bring you on to beat you down. I'm just trying to understand the thought process. And I hope that you can help everybody else understand the thought process that, yeah, I mean, we're human. We're going to fuck up. We're going to make mistakes.
Because I didn't want to make it feel like anybody else has failed besides me. And if I say, well, this fundraiser didn't work out, I don't want people saying it's their fault. It is 100% mine.
Right. And I can, like I said, I can understand that, but I think the transparency and the honesty up front would have gotten you so much farther than where we are today.
Well, I've already become a failure in life at the point where I couldn't get a job. To where the point where I had to end up having to do fundraisers. I've been dealing with, not trying to make anybody else feel like it was their problem, because it wasn't. And I'm just stuck at a hard place. I started a lie. I continued in I couldn't figure out a way to get out of it. And without hurting people I've considered friends, people who are near and dear to me, because I've lied to everybody. Even today, I haven't had a chance to talk to Sly because he's still defending me based on the evidence he's been presented, because all of the evidence he's been presented doesn't say one thing either way. But the people who have this evidence won't give it to him, so they can still berate him for not knowing all the facts. And they're holding on to him and lording it over him.
Yeah, let's not forget they're also attacking me and calling me a piece of shit for even questioning this, for questioning it the way I did. I mean, yes, we can all point and laugh at me on my Whiskey Wednesdays, right? I mean, I let it fly that night, but Red sat there and tried to deflect on that and say that, Sly did much better research than Team Skeptic did when he was, because Sly was sober and Team Skeptic was drunk. Fuck that. I've been looking at this shit for a while, and when I called it out, I got fucking railroaded by that entire fucking little group.
Well, here's the thing: as far as Sly is concerned, he's looked into this. He's kept an open mind. If he's outright said if he finds evidence that I've done something wrong, he would call me out on it. Everything he's found through his searching so far is not conclusive. People that are berating him for saying that he's covering for me, he's not. He's based it on evidence that he's been presented. He's not been presented everything, and he's still defending me for me, and I feel like absolute shit for it. And like I said, I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet. I called Team Skeptic first. I called Red's Rhetoric second. I told JC the truth right after that. I'm surprised I still have a place to stay. She suspected, but she didn't know.
So Angel Gamer says, if you have a medical condition that prevents you from getting or keeping a job, why not apply for Social Security?
Because the condition that I had was not a disability. It's a what's the word? A discrimination issue.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, that's fair.
It
That's
doesn't.
fair.
It doesn't prevent him from being able to do the work that anyone else can do. It just people discriminate against him. It is a condition. It sucks. You know, I feel for Shawn on this. The shit he had to deal with. I feel for him. You know,
Yeah,
I think a lot. You know, and that's kind of maybe that's why it bothers me so much, Shawn, is because a lot of these people would bend over backwards for you, bro, including myself. I would have been over backwards for you, and that's where we all feel kind of like let down. You know,
Well,
personally let
I want
down.
to say this. I wanted to say it when we first started, but I just want to make sure it's reiterated. I don't remember if I said it. I'm not looking for forgiveness. What I did was wrong. I'm not looking for pats on the back for being honest. Finally, this is me saying I'm tired of everybody else catching flack for something I did. Like I said, nobody knew about this until today, and the first person I talked to about it was Skeptic, because he's the first person to come aggressively at me that I hold in respect. And that was what triggered me to finally start to come forward with all this. And Johnny helped because he did a plea for it. Irish Demon did. But since I talked to Skeptic, I was going to go to whatever platform he wanted because he was very vocal about it. And
I told you I'd be fair. I told you I was going to ask hard questions, but I told you I'd be fair to you. It'd be non-hostile. You could come in here and tell the people what needed to be heard. And that's it. That's all. We needed to hear that. But that's a starting point. That's a starting point right there.
So now that we've... Well, go ahead.
No, I'll give you. I want to ask a question, but I think I want to ask this as the last question of the night. So
I got you. Now that
we get to that point.
Right. Now that we've gotten to this point here, what do you plan on doing to rectify the situation?
Well, I've offered refunds to people who felt that they were scammed. Trust me, there was no scam involved. Misappropriation, if you want to consider surviving while there's no income misappropriation, you can call it that. I didn't see another choice in the matter. But I've offered refunds. I still hold to that. I'll do my best as I can on that. If every single donator wants a refund, I'll do what I can to get that back as quickly as possible. But yeah, I lied about paying the landlord. And that's where my deception ended. Other than the fact that
you had to keep it going with some pretty...
I had to keep it going with everybody. It's not something that anybody else had knowledge of. Want to make that perfectly clear for the conspiracy nuts. There's no tied together accounts anywhere. Some poorly choice of words about being everything's linked the way it should be was simply the chain of how money would be transferred throughout the other fundraisers. You know, people would send it to my PayPal. I would forward it to Red because he didn't want to be doxxed. Why he doesn't set up his own account, I don't know. You know, his own account with a pseudonym. But I've never worried about that. But that's what Red meant by everything's linked the way it's supposed to be. It's not everybody has access to my PayPal. Just to make that abundantly clear.
Do you feel moving forward there needs to be more transparency regarding future fundraisers? I'm not taking a shot here at anybody. I want to know your opinion. After you went through this, do you think it's more important that we have transparency?
My brutal, honest opinion is that if I'm ever involved in a fundraiser because of this, I don't think that anybody would ever donate to it. So I'm extracting myself from any future fundraisers just because this lie. Because I don't want to pollute a fundraiser ever again.
So I'm getting a lot of people in the chat who don't feel that you're being entirely honest with all these questions here. Is there anything that you are not telling us, or is anything that you might be flubbing a little bit that you want to clear up?
Not that I can think of, no. I mean, I came here with the express purpose of getting this cleared up and over and done with. And the only way to do that is to get out here and say what actually happened.
Team, do you have any other questions while I kind of ponder on this for a second?
I'm fielding some Discord stuff. I'm going to see if there's some questions that people are sending me on Discord.
let's see here. So if anybody else in the chat has some questions, be sure to tag myself. I'm trying to get to him as best I can. Like I said, you don't have to super chat. This is not, this is not what this is about. If you want to, you can. I appreciate it. Everybody who has super chat, I will get to super chats here shortly. Give me just a second. I'm kind of going through the chat to see if there are any other questions that I haven't asked or that need some more clarification.
I'll just say, man, Shawn, I don't know what's going to happen from here, and I'm not talking about personally between me and you. I just don't know what's going to happen. You've admitted to some things that, quite frankly, are illegal. And I don't think you should go to jail for this. Okay. There's going to be people that disagree with me in the chat. There's going to be people that say, no, but I've already done this, or this is already about to happen, or blah, 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 blah. We'll see. Make it happen if that's what you want. Okay. But here's the thing. That's not what I want to see. All right. I don't want to see that. I want to see the people not being taken advantage of anymore. Like, this is ridiculous. In the past 3 years, between just and me and Craig talked about this. We used to talk about this all the time when we were in our shows. We were like, oh my God, so many fucking fundraisers.
For the first time, I've actually opened up the chat, and first thing I see is a question that actually needs to be answered, because there's a lot of bullshit going around about that. As far as my bank account, I was a secondary person on the bank account. Deb was the primary account holder. There's no question on that. When I logged in when I tried to log in to talk with BM Furball about it, I got a message saying the account has been closed. And that was on my old phone. I didn't know the condition of why the account was closed. I don't know if it was closed by the bank. I didn't know if it was closed by Deb. When I tried to log in with my phone now to see about getting bank statements about everything, I got a message saying that I needed to verify. They were going to, the password and all that, the username password still exists, but it didn't recognize the device. So it pulled up the contact emails to send a code to get back into the account. It only lists Deb. Mine was removed, which means I was removed from the account before it was closed. And the only person that could do that is the primary account holder.
So why in the this comes from Fohammer 335. He has a question. He asked to explain the affidavit of debt, which says that you had previous rent owed. It doesn't list an amount, but that's what they actually sued for $6,000 of back rent.
No, it says rent. It doesn't say back rent, for one. And the only
okay, you're right about that. It says rent.
Sorry, I'm still reading chat. I shouldn't be. That's why I had it closed to begin with. Say your question again. I'm sorry, I got distracted.
Well, how did you? I guess the question that's coming from Fohammer is, how did you accumulate a request of $6,000 worth of rent from the property?
Well, that's a very good question, because they evict after 10 days of not paying. That's actually in the lease. I'm sure you can find it, because you like I said, you got it on hand.
Yeah.
So after 10 days of being late, they will actually evict you, which coincides with not paying December's rent. They could have because from what I've seen on that affidavit, which I haven't seen until it was put out there publicly, it says rent, and then it has what looks like a whited out section. So I'm not sure if that was done by somebody else or if that was done just a mistake in the printout. So I'm not sure what that amount was that it said, but December's rent was missed. It should have been $748. So I don't know. I don't know where the $6 or $6,000 came from, because again, if you miss rent after 10 days, they evict, period. It couldn't have never gotten to $6,000 for back rent. So all I can think was that was rent going for the remainder of the lease. And after being blindsided by an August or September to August lease when it shouldn't have been, that might make sense for that. Yes.
Now, did you know your
November?
Did you know?
Paid.
Did you know your rent was $765 and not, $745? Because when you told us when we asked you the questions about it, you told us that you paid $74.50 cash, but at the time your rent was $765.
I could have sworn it was 7:48. That's the last I knew.
It's an
See,
irrelevant point. I'm just asking you the question.
It's not It's not an irrelevant point because it seems to be a plethora of missteps on your end there, Shawn. And I understand that sometimes you can be out of sorts, so to speak, especially with everything that was going on in your life at the time. But there are a lot of missteps here that need some sort of explanation, and not knowing how much your rent is kind of a big deal when you're asking people to help pay your rent.
10 months.
Yeah, 10 months of rent, exactly. Really quick, I've added a couple of level-headed people to this. We're not here to gang up on anybody. So PSG Tony and Brainy
level-headed. Be careful here.
You're evenly headed with your mohawk.
Vanilla scented, I think, is as far as I'm gonna go. Okay, thank you.
I have rarely seen a flatter head than yours, Brainy.
I just want to put a beer on it.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome.
So
you and I are working on the same haircut. Don't worry, buddy.
Let's keep on track.
I love you, Brainy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, sorry, keep going, guys.
If I can, may I ask Shawn a few questions?
Absolutely.
I think we needed a mood break there. That was a nice tension breaker. Let's keep going.
Okay. So, Shawn, I've had the privilege of talking to you a few times, and during that, you've seemed like a really well-organized person who, goes out and, plots out in advance the steps that they need to make to achieve their objectives. And what I'm noticing during your story is that didn't happen in this particular set of circumstances, that you didn't sit down, look at the details, and work out what you needed to do and how you needed to approach things. Is that a fair assessment?
Sadly, I would agree with that.
Okay. So my question then becomes, if I hear somebody, from personal experience, because it's happened to me, that my mental health has put me in a position where I haven't made rational choices, where I've made a series of bad decisions. Is it possible that you were under the effects of some sort of mental health condition or some sort of undiagnosed situation that made you just react to this in an extremely, rather than sitting down and confronting it head on and analyzing it and dissecting it and saying, this is exactly what needs to happen in this order? I
can't speak to some kind of mental disorder. I can speak to panic. Other than that, I don't know. I've never been diagnosed with anything, but
okay,
it was a serious stint in my life where it was panic a lot.
Okay, so Pat, and I'm only an amateur, so don't hold me to this, but it sounds a little bit like you might have been suffering an anxiety disorder where you never sat down and were really objective about the problem that was facing you.
No, it was a lot of moment to moment.
So and it may seem to people like I'm trying to build an out for you, but I'm just aware that when I see this pattern of behavior, that a rational, capable person starts making a series of quite poor decisions, and you admit that they're poor. You're not, and you're not trying to minimize the fact that those are decisions that you made. You're not trying to blame external circumstances. You're upfront about the fact that you just made an extended series of bad decisions here. Is it possible that some sort of anxiety condition paid into that? Is with me speaking about it, is there anything in your background that might have made you anxious about this sort of situation, about accepting generosity from a group of people and not being able to follow through on that generosity and not wanting to impose on them again? Because I've
never had to deal with, help me, assistance. I need help. I've never had to deal with that until the last few years.
Right. So, I mean, there's been a lot of discussion about, well, that seems irrational, and otherwise rational people can behave in irrational ways in some circumstances. And I'm just trying to see if that's a possibility here, because the alternative, sort of, from what I've seen, if you don't seem the type who entered into this as some sort of fraud, and even if it was a fraud, it was, it seemed, in order for it to be a fraud, it would have to be organized well in advance, and it just doesn't seem that organized. It just doesn't seem well constructed to be a fraud. So either you're just a very careless fraudster, or you were in a position where you were just making bad decisions because you found yourself in extremely stressful circumstances that were causing you a great deal of anxiety. And perhaps I am imposing my own experiences onto an external situation, so the rest of the panel can respond to that as well.
I wish I had a background in psychoanalyzing myself to give you a straight answer to that. I don't. Yes, there was a lot of panic, but I can't speak to whether or not that influenced poor decision making or not. I can't look internally that way.
So the random explorer brings up a really pertinent question to this. Are you used to somebody else handling the financials?
No, the reason why I got set up as a secondary on the bank account is because of her age. She actually got benefits for there's no fees on checking. She has automatic overdraw good protections. That's why I didn't set up my own bank account when we were in the relationship, is because it was more advantageous to be on her account. That was a measured decision at the time. It's a regrettable one in recent events.
And to some extent, if you were setting up a fraud, that wouldn't have happened, right? Because fraudsters are very aware of the possibility of other people taking your money. But you do have to accept, right, that for a person outside of your circumstances, this is difficult to wrap their heads around, right? Because it doesn't seem like you're making organized, well-structured decisions.
Well, that much is obvious. I'll say that. There was no.
Yeah, but I guess what Tony's trying to say here, though, is like, if you look at let's say you watch, like I do, you watch interrogation videos, right? And the giveaway almost all of the time is that the person they're asking about what they did or their relationship gives them an overly irrational answer, and the overly irrational answer comes from the need to lie to hide the truth. Now, I'm not here calling you a liar, but I think what Tony's trying to say is that, is there something else that's going on that would cause you to have these overly irrational answers to these very rational questions? Like when they say, what were you thinking at this time? What was the idea that you were going to do? Why did you think that, you were making this decision for this future possibility that is in direct contradiction with something you did only months prior? Like the idea when I say, and in August 22nd, when we did the fundraiser, you said, I've met the lady. She likes me. I'm going to have a job there. And then you told Johnny that by November, at any point in November, within less than 2 months of feeling this confidence in this lady, you were already telling to Johnny that you had lost confidence in your ability to get that job.
No, it wasn't
Go ahead.
confidence to get the job. It was confidence on whether or not I'd have a place to live. If I didn't have a place to live, there's no point in having a job because you're living on the street.
Why wasn't Reds offering? I thought that was the whole idea, is that you were moving down there to be with Reds.
Because early November, he was sitting there talking about trying to talk me out of coming down. He was sitting there saying, are you sure you want to come down here? Can you find some, is there any chance you can find someplace else to go? Because he'd already moved and he already gotten a roommate. So
I want to address something really quick. That's really quick. This isn't a mental health evaluation. There was a question posed by someone who suffers from mental health looking for an answer. We are not trying to diagnose Shawn with anything. I don't believe that was PhD Tony's intention. So I apologize for that interruption. Please continue.
And please do not interpret what I'm saying as suggesting that Shawn must be mentally ill. Again, I am trying to understand Shawn's recounting of events from my personal experience. That's all I'm trying to do. and I'm not trying to attribute anything to Shawn. He is, he lived his own life. I'm not trying to dictate it.
Who the fuck are y'all kidding? Tony has a PhD. He knows fucking everything. Go ahead, Brainy.
I'm gonna huck one very gentle stone in the direction, and this is what I'll say. That while at that point in time, I was much more of I mean, I had my channel was monetized by that point, and I'd even put that donations, running, fundraisers and stuff in my description and Patreon, which had been removed later. It's not in there, you'll find, because I took it out after all this. But all I can say for me is that that something. Okay, so Shawn may or may not be aware of something that affected a lot of creators. We had Thomas Miller. I think a lot of the creators will know who that is. He was a pretty big supporter on almost every channel. That guy combined across the board was dropping over $1,000 a month easily across all of our channels between the different Patreons he had. Like, he had top tier patronage on all our channels, and he dropped all of us because of this exact thing that occurred here. So all I want to say is that, like, if you find that there's passion from even small people like me who are on the outside for the most part looking in when this occurred, it still had a rippling effect on me, because I'm going to tell you right now, it cost me $1,200 a year in Patreon, because that person was a very massive supporter. And I think that he was giving the same patronage, I believe, to Radical, to a whole bunch of other channels. And he apologized to all of us and said that he told us he was dropping the support because he didn't like the idea that there was possibly, of course, the information was a little bit more, well, it was definitely all Unirock at the time, but it was a bit more sporadic. But he didn't like the idea that there was potential fraud or scamming or lying occurring. And that person pulled all of his donations from all of us. And so that was a big loss to all of us. So, I mean, it might not seem like it, but I mean, $1,200 to me at the time was a lot of damn money, because I was at a low in my financial position in life.
I want to tell you, just to validate Brainy's point, the guy sent me a message too. In fact, Shawn, he reached out to me before he reached out to you, because he reached out to me to understand what was going on and to see how he could help. Okay, and I don't want to put this guy out on blast, because he's a good dude.
I don't know if I even should have said his name. He's a great person.
And just like Brainy said, he completely stopped supporting all of us, and all because of that. All because of that. And you know what? Just so everybody out there knows what kind of fucking badass he is, he's the one that bought my VMix for me. And anybody out there that knows about the VMix knows how fucking expensive it is. He bought that for me because he supported us and our community, and that made him leave. And it's not that we're
he's never been back.
Hey, and you know what? I'm not even missing the money. That's not the thing. It was him. He was a good person. He's no longer around.
I mean, the only reason I brought up the money is because for me, I was at a financial low point. I had lost my job, just like I'd been laid off, shortly after getting monetized on my channel, but just by coincidence. And he came along and started donating top tier donation. Well, for me, that was helping feed my family and stuff like that. So when he, later when this happened and he dropped it, I mean, unfortunately for me, that was a little bit of a punch in the gut, which I had nothing to do with. So it really, you can see how these things reverberated outwards, and they created minor, again, it's not about the money, but at the same time, for me, I didn't have a lot of money. So of course, like you said, you got to eat, you got to feed your family. So that was a big deal for me. At that time, obviously.
This leads me to a secondary question, which is, so is there a supermarket within walking distance of your residence?
Oh, stop buying stuff from Grubhub. Thank you. I agree. Please.
Yeah.
Closest one.
Please don't do it. It's spending so much extra money.
Closest one was 3 miles away.
Okay, so 3 miles is walking distance. I have walked 3 miles in the snow to get groceries in my
Uphill,
life.
Both ways.
Absolutely.
Actually, it was very flat. It was on Long Island.
Tony, you're old. We know it was uphill both
this was
ways.
before the invention of the wheel, guys. So go on,
3-4 didn't exist yet. His mom was barely born.
but I would suggest to a person who has, I happen to be unemployed at the moment. Now, I received a payout from my last contract that was quite substantial, but I have arranged my eating habits. Before my contract ran out, I was ordering, Uber Eats, which sounds like a version of Grubhub. But it's quite an expensive option. And once, I was on a finite amount of money for until a new contract is finalized, I decided, well, actually, screw that. I'm going to go to the supermarket, get some mince or some roast or whatever, a large amount of meat, cook it up, and then microwave it.
Dude, you could take a taxi there once a week and store it in the bar fridge. If that's all you had, you'd still be saving money.
Okay, so I think we're past the point. I think we're past the point of beating them up over.
This isn't the idea.
We've already.
If anybody's going to living off Grubhub, don't do it. It's not worth it.
I think it's a valid question because it relates to how organized his thinking was. In what sense did it seem reasonable that this was still your dining option?
Feeding for two, and just carrying groceries for 3 miles. One, you'd have to do that on a daily basis, and it's just heavy shit. And
well, I mean, it is. Hang on a second.
I don't go grocery store every day.
Hang on a second. It is a valid question to ask why we didn't take an Uber, because Uber Eats every day or Grubhub every day versus one Uber a week. I mean, that really would cut down the expense.
I only go to the grocery store once every other week because I don't live in the city. And unless I want to pay the grocery store here, I'll do minor runs if I have to. But we go online, we order from Walmart, and we do a run to Walmart. So because it saves me money.
Let's finish off with letting Shawn tell
us. I'm not trying to. It's a big source of money lost.
Well, I understand your point, and I think Shawn does too. But let's keep going forward with this. If we got more questions for him, let's ask him. Let's give him a chance to answer, and then let's, do what we got to do. Because I just don't want to turn it into a beat up on Shawn. This is not what we're here for to do.
No, absolutely not.
And it's kind of, to me, it's kind of come off.
Honestly,
like
that's what it has been for the last few minutes.
Well, I felt like what I wanted to say was the only thing I could add was the perspective of how it affected me in the community. Because my point is that you might not think that it affected somebody like me, right? But it did.
Okay.
And I have remorse for that, Beaver. I have, if I could reach out to Thomas Miller and let him know, because I don't know if he's watching or if he ever does. They didn't know. I lied to everybody about that lease. Everybody. Nobody knew until today. From the horse's mouth.
So, can you explain to me in a little bit more detail why my asking you about Grubhub feels like I'm beating up on you?
Well, no, it wasn't the question. It was everybody hammering it at the same time.
Okay.
It did start to pile on there for a second.
Okay.
And I do apologize for allowing
my
that to happen.
budgeting skills were offended by Grubhub the moment it was mentioned. I'm sorry.
Shawn, please understand that I'm not here to beat up on you. And in fact, that a lot of people in the chat think I'm here to apologize for you.
No,
that's not how I see my role. I'm trying to be objective here, and I'm trying to understand what's going on. It may not make sense to an external observer. I understand that, but I'm just trying to understand as much as I can.
I mean, the best I can give is poor choice. Then, other than that, I would be doing nothing but bashing somebody else who's not here to defend themselves. So it's just poor choice on my part.
I guess where this kind of leads me is, what do we do now? We're going forward. I mean, I know you've already made your plan to make restitution public here, but what kind of, I mean, do you have any expectation of legal troubles from this? Because I'm not going to, again, it definitely does not seem to fit the bill of fraudulent, because as we have kind of gone over, it seems to be a lot of scatterbrain thinking here. So I don't think there was a plan, but misappropriation of fundraiser funds could, bring some serious legal trouble your way.
Well, it's like I said, if people want to go down the misappropriation thing for just surviving on the only source of income that there was, which was that fundraiser, then I guess that's what's going to have to happen. But again, that was it. It was either I did or I died, one of the two.
Okay. Well, I mean, again, like I said, that's
it. To be fair, that because of that fundraiser, I was able to survive long enough to get in a better position, which was the overall goal. It just wasn't spelled out that way.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is that if you would have spelled it out that way, there would have been people that might not have been sympathetic towards that and said, I'm not going to give money towards that plan.
Which is why I really wish Jared would have asked a question that he asked right after we went off air. But I don't want to say that question because people are going to think that's an excuse. Jared asked the question of what would happen if we didn't meet the goal. We hashed that out, but again, I berated him for saying, why didn't you ask that while we were alive? It's something he didn't think of until we were off air. And at this point, unless Jared wants to come forward and talk about that conversation, it's hearsay. So that's why I've not brought that up.
Okay. So there's there's a lot of complexity to what's going on here, and you will freely admit, I think, that you made a series of extremely poor choices.
Yes.
In this sequence of events. Okay. And you're accepting culpability for having misrepresented what happened to the various people to various of the people involved at various stages along the line. Okay. I mean, sort of, it seems a shame to me that, sort of, you felt like you couldn't be more honest with the rest of the community, because actually, speaking for myself, I've always held you in quite high esteem, and if you just come forward and said, this, that, and the other, these are the circumstances, it's really complicated, etc., it would have been a lot easier to process, and it wouldn't have escalated to the point that it has.
Looking back on it, I would 100% agree with that. But unfortunately, because of all the stuff going on, I just kept digging that hole deeper and deeper. Mm-hmm. And again, that's on me.
Okay. So you came on here today, which shows a great deal of courage, because it could have just been, people beating up on you for the entire time.
To be honest, I actually expected that.
I want to reiterate that's not why I bring people on.
I know. It's just because of the animosity of the whole situation. I actually expected that no matter where I went. It's just I came here specifically because team was very vocal about it, and I figured I would get hammered worse than I did.
Okay. So when you came here today, what was your ideal view of when you came here today, what was your best hope for the outcome of this discussion?
The outcome actually didn't even cross my mind. I just needed to get this out because a lot of people are getting blamed for stuff that's not their fault.
So this was more of a catharsis for you?
Well, no, I mean, this has been eating me up for over a year, so it does help me to get it off my chest. I mean, I've had to lie to everybody, my friends included, for a year, and it's been destroying me.
So we got a couple of questions. J.L. Warren says, why wasn't unemployment protection an option?
Feel free to look this up. In Indiana, you only get unemployment protection if you are terminated through no fault of your own. And since I was late and fired for that, I did not qualify for unemployment.
And then what about
the same here? You wouldn't if you're fired, you don't get unemployment because it's your fault.
Yes.
The other was, what about your stimulus money? Were you able to collect your stimulus money?
Yes.
Let's see here. I'm kind of scanning here to see if there's anything else that's not.
What are you gonna do next? I mean, like, you're here, right? And you're talking to people that may or may not be your fundraiser, your the people that were involved with that fundraiser. I mean, there's 275 people watching. Congratulations, Johnny. It's a good show. There's 275 people watching, and these are the people that may or may not be people who have donated to that fundraiser. I think, in my personal opinion, I think you need to make a personal apology to those people on Red's channel where it was hosted in the first place.
That's actually a plan. Red wanted me to come on his show before I came here. I told him no, because I don't want some kind of conspiracy saying that I was coached through anything or I was trying to cover for anybody. I wanted to be as honest as possible, so I came here. We will be doing a show tomorrow at 4 p.m. Where I will cover this.
So I want you to know, by the way, I don't know if you saw on Twitter, but I want you to know that regardless of what I've said to you tonight, Shawn, that I have said nothing but fuck you to Unirock on Twitter and in his scopes, and when he says the shitty fucked up things that he adds to his stories, because I've always said that Unirock does one thing. He takes a fact, something that he has some tangible, delicious little edge of a fact, and then he spins it on a pottery reel and he fucking bedazzles it with jewels. So don't think that people here didn't none of this came from Unirock for me either. Unirock can fucking eat shit. Just sorry about the language. I want you to know, like, Unirock says some stupid, messed up things that he said about you and Cy Strickling, and regardless of how people feel about that, some of the, like, let's face it, a lot of what Unirock has said, he's pulled right but from between his ass cheeks.
I've been doing my best to not talk about him. I failed several times in this show already. I was wanting to keep us focused on what I.
No. I wanted to say that for me, and just so people know where I stand on this, is that, like, because Unirock, when I was over there, he said a lot of stupid things about a lot of people, and I don't believe what people say. I believe what I believe, and I believe what's told to me. And sometimes I'm guilty of putting too much trust in people. That's literally one of my downfalls. I would have let anybody that I think is my friend lie right to my face and tell me that anything they want to, because I will believe you if I think that you're my friend, which is also why I've been defensive of people like Red to a degree where people, I've said, well, I'm going to tell you right now, if my friend says something, I'm going to back him up, and you're going to have to give me some decent evidence in order for me to shift my perspective. And let's face it, people want to believe that their friends aren't lying to them. So I don't know where I've tangent. This is the ADHD running. Just somebody take over the mic. I'm just going to mute.
All right. Well, let me go ahead and take charge here for a second.
It left winged there on me. My apologies.
Okay. We're kind of getting a little long here. I do want to address. I want to address you, Pink Furball. There's no one getting a free pass here. Shawn came on this show. He's been asked some very tough and very difficult questions. It's not my job to be judge, jury, and executioner here. It's my job to ask the questions, get answers, flesh those answers out. If you don't like the process in which that's happened, then I'm sorry, that I'm doing the best that I ethically can. I'm not here to sit here and yell and berate Shawn. He's a grown adult. He made mistakes. He is answering the questions that I'm asking. He's answering the questions that team is asking. This isn't a beat up on Shawn. So if that's what you guys were expecting, I'm pretty sure I was pretty clear at the very beginning of this stream that would not be happening. He's not getting a free pass. He's being held to what I would consider a very high standard when it comes to truth, honesty, and whether or not I believe he is or isn't being completely honest right now, we'll save that for a later time. I would like to go back and listen to answers again, put my thoughts together. I'm not one that shoots from the hip often. Every now and again, when I feel that I've been blatantly lied to, I will shoot from the hip. However, this is not a free pass for anyone, especially Shawn, who did agree to. He didn't have to come on here and answer these questions. He could have told us all, hey, look, whatever, go fuck yourselves, and we're done.
I knew I had to go somewhere. This just happened to be where.
Again, I appreciate that. And in the interest of your time, my time, and everybody else's time.
Sorry, that was a cat knocking stuff over.
That's all right. in the interest of saving time, I think what we're
I
going to do
just
is
thought it was Brainy on ADHD again.
No,
So did I.
Yeah,
I
I
thought,
know it's an ADHD. It's just
I
like a
thought-
reverberation over here.
thought Brainy had grabbed like a fucking pogo stick or some shit and was just
I'm
going it
muted.
down.
Don't worry.
no, that was a cat knocking over
That's
a lot
similar
of
to what
stuff off
Uniruck
of
was
itself.
saying. Sorry.
The bulb in Brainy's asshole broke.
Yeah, what's that? What happened? So
You're
Tony,
supposed to
if
ask
you have
about the
one
vanilla,
last,
thank you, not my asshole. It's very close though.
Tony, if you have one more question, then we'll get to the super chats, and then we will.
I did have one more question. It's slightly personal, Shawn, so I'll understand if you decline to answer it. But do you feel that through your actions you have put Cy Strikeling in an extremely invidious position?
I think that some of her past has been brought to light, and it's being used against her now. As most are aware, some things have been said about her as if it's current tense, and it's stuff that happened like 3 years ago that was going through a phase. And when I got involved with her, when she pointed it out to me saying this might come to light, she was worried that I would say, screw you. I simply asked her one question. Do you still do that? She said, no, she doesn't. But some people are saying that she's currently doing that now. And
my question was more, do you believe that your actions reflect badly on Cy Strikeling, that they have exposed Cy Strikeling to criticism for complicity in your actions and your activities over the past year?
Just to be clear, I'll say this again. She found out about this lie today.
Okay.
So hold on. There needs to be more discussion about that. Are you telling us that she had no idea? She was under the complete impression that you paid for the rent when you didn't.
Hang on a second, team. That's an unfair question because we're asking Shawn to answer a question that should be directed at Cy Strikeling, not Shawn.
No.
Shawn
Hufford. He knows whether he told her or not. He knows what he told her. It's a fair question. Go ahead, Shawn.
Well, like I said when we were talking earlier, it's like I told you I was going to have to tell JC about it. I didn't think she'd be around after I told her the truth. When I told her, she said that she suspected it, but she had no proof of it otherwise.
Okay, so I just the reason I asked that is to put the situation in some clarity, because there will be a tendency for many people to say Shawn did this, therefore Cy Strikeling must have also been a part of that, and so I want a clear, I wanted and I got a clear description of where the separation of responsibility is.
I'm reading the question on the screen right now, and I can easily answer that. If that would have played out differently, and the way that happened, absolutely things would have played out differently. I will say that 100%. Because so much conspiracy shit got thrown around, I focused on the stuff that I knew was false and avoided the whole lease thing.
All right, hey, here's something from the Athens 619 out there in the chat, because honestly, that's somebody I've met in person, and I consider him a friend. And when I got a chance to look at all this and see it, and then when I started seeing the video of him coming on and putting his good grace out as much as he has, I think at least right now you owe him either an explanation or an apology. And I'm sorry that I'm putting you on the spot like that, but he's in the chat right now, and he does feel kind of used and abused by your actions, Shawn. And I think it's only fucking honorable to speak and say what you need to say to him right now, live.
Well, as I said earlier when I actually brought up Athens 619, no, you weren't taken advantage of. I will say that, because your loan to JC, which is about to start getting repaid now that we're both in a position we can do that, you loan that money to JC. She's the one that did the fundraiser against my wishes, and that kept our relationship alive, was the fact that you gave her that loan. I tried to go to Wolfie 620 or 6020 through email to see if I can get a loan from him first. And then I found out that she did the fundraiser. We had a big ass fight about that because I didn't want to do one. Team Skeptic has the email that I sent to Wolfie. He can, I don't know if he's read it. He's read the date on it so far to verify that it was sent when it was sent. Had nothing to do with it. I'm sorry you feel like you've been taken advantage of, but you really weren't. And I apologize you feel that way. And
that's like one of the
Shawn,
worst apologies
I gotta
I've
say,
ever heard
I've
in
got to
my
say,
life.
hang on a second, guys, hang on a second. Yeah, let me feel this one here. That was
poorly worded.
that would be a nice way of saying what you said. Had I come to you the way that Athens 619 just come to you and said, hey, you know, I feel like I got used here, and your apology to me was, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way, I'd have probably told you to go fuck yourself, and you know, we would have had different words to say. That's a horrible apology.
Yeah. So just as
hang on
a general
a second, Tony. So I mean, that right there, that's the thing that kind of irritates from what I am seeing in the chat and hearing from other people, is that kind of brash,
that's
sorry for you kind of attitude is what really irritates everybody.
But that's not what I meant. And if you'd give me time to, you know, correct my poorly word choice, I am sorry. I had no intention to make you feel that you were taken advantage of. You weren't. There was no intention to take advantage of you. What you loaned to JC was without my knowledge until after it was done. We're now, like I said, we're now in a position we can start worrying about paying that back. We've been talking about it for the last few days because we can start to afford this now. And I feel bad that you feel like you've been taken advantage of, or that you feel that way. That was never on the board.
Shawn,
I feel bad. I
Yeah.
feel bad that my actions have led you this way. There's a lack of accountability. There's a lack of accountability.
But it is my actions that make him feel that way. I am sorry that my actions make him feel that way.
No, you see, so that's called a pseudo apology. You know, I am sorry if anyone is offended. I am sorry if anyone is offended by what I did.
Yeah, if I'm sorry that I get a smack.
Anyone is offended by, you know, no, because you're calling it, what you're implicitly suggesting there is the possibility that their reaction is an unreasonable reaction.
But it's not.
Well, yes, then just say that I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry for what I did and its impact on you. That's that, and I think. And I
wish I was eloquent enough to actually think of that. That's what I've been meaning to say. It's just I don't do that.
Okay, so I mean, this can be a learning experience for everyone. If you say, I'm sorry that you feel that way, you are implicitly blaming the person for feeling that way.
Yeah, right.
That's not what I
know that if I say it.
Well, hang on, everybody.
Yeah. Sorry you feel that way, baby. Well.
He feels taken advantage of because of what I did. And I am sorry that I did what I did to make him feel that way. That's my brain.
That's a good job, right?
That's a little better. All right, so here's what we're gonna do, Shawn. I would like to connect with you after this to ask some follow-up questions that we don't have to worry about prying ears, eyes, whatever. So you can be you and me, because I would like to work on a follow-up to this. Of course, you know, I would like to give you however much time you need to, you know, get past this original, whatever, this live stream, this, you know, kind of let what has happened and transpired tonight kind of settle in. So if you would agree to that, you don't have to agree to it now. You can send me a chat or, you know, whatever, tweet, whatever the fuck these kids call these damn messages now. Send me a message in any way you know how to send me a message, and we'll figure something out. That being said, I am going to get to the super chats, and then we will say our goodbyes to everybody. And then if anybody has any questions, you feel free to email me, theplothole1@gmail.com. more than happy to do what I can to answer those questions. If you feel I haven't, answered or asked of Shawn, what you, if there's something you feel like you're missing, let me know. I'd be happy to address that.
Can I have a final word here before you do super chats?
Absolutely.
Well, like I said, this has been eating me up, but I've been able to use, I don't want to say distractions, but false statements to avoid dealing with it. At one point when Red was trying to talk me into going back up to Indiana, I actually went out for a walk for about an hour and a half in pouring rain. I didn't know what to do anymore. And this was about a month ago now. I was just aimlessly walking because I couldn't think of how to apologize to the community, because I started a lie with what I thought was good intentions. But the more I think about it, the more I realize there's no such thing as a good intention for a lie. And it's just gone on and on. And like I said, I've had little nuggets of BS to be able to distract from that lie. And I've had to lie to literally everybody I know to keep it going. I've lied to friends. I've lied to subscribers. I've lied to people who have donated, and it's been destroying me. Not asking for any forgiveness. I am 100% wanting to own this. It's nobody else's fault but my own. People have defended me. One, because I've lied to them. People have defended me because not all of the information has been presented when people would claim they've had evidence and then wouldn't give that evidence. So it gave the opportunity for them to say, what we've seen doesn't provide evidence of guilt. That is not their fault. That is the fault of the people who have been withholding the evidence as a gotcha.
Well,
this is on me.
Can I respond to that?
Yes.
Is it not your fault for not confessing earlier?
Yes.
Okay, so blaming the people who had the evidence and didn't bring it forward for not bringing it forward earlier seems kind of like misplacing the responsibility here.
No, what I'm saying
those people stepped up to defend you because you hadn't yet confessed to them, right?
Right, but these are the same people who say, if you provide us with the evidence, we can make an informed judgment. The evidence wasn't provided. They were holding it and then berating them for not having that evidence.
But you had the evidence and you could have supplied it to them.
Which is why I'm here now. Because I'm tired of people defending me for the wrong reason.
Okay.
And they're getting flack for defending me when they didn't have all the facts.
All right.
And that's been tearing me up. And like I said, I expect to lose friends. I expect to log in tomorrow, have 0 subscribers. I'm not asking for people to forgive me. So no, there is no free ride here. I'm holding myself to what I've done.
But don't worry, it's not going to be as easy as you waking up and having no subscribers. You need to wake up and face the fact that you're going to have to go on Red's channel and tell this same shit, because that's the only way that you're going to make it. You're going to begin to make it right. And I'm not attacking you, Shawn. I'm just telling you that
what's already going to be happening.
Yeah, that's going to be harder than waking up and seeing that you don't have any subscribers.
I'm
because
just saying,
you know that's going to affect him, and I don't like him, and you know that, and everybody knows that. I don't like him, but you know what? That was the effect that it has on him and his channel. That wasn't fair to him.
No,
it wasn't fair to me. And this is me speaking my piece now. Okay, it's just me speaking my piece to you. I was very disappointed that you did this. I'd never thought you would. I don't think this is the end of Shawn Hufford as we know him. I think you're strong enough to come back on your own and do your own thing and get back to the way you felt when I first met you, and you were just that having fun content creator, just bullshitting in live streams and having fun. You could get back to that, but it's going to take a lot of steps. And the number one step is owning owning what you did, and owning it here on the plot hole is one thing. Owning it tomorrow, where supporters of Reds and supporters of you and people who've actually donated to you have to hear this same story, that's going to be when you really own it. This was just your practice run. It's going to get harder. So, expect that when you go over there. I don't think they're just going to sit back and relax. And you're going to see a lot of people call me out for calling you out. You're going to see a lot of people call me out for calling Reds out. I think he should have been talking about this a long time ago. Why was Uni talking about it and Reds wasn't? That's questions that I asked myself. Why was it me that had to come out? Somebody who had very little to do with it. Yeah, sure, my face was on it, but I was also invited to do that. Like, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had a rough idea, but I didn't understand the magnitude of it until I was there, and I didn't back down from it. But why am I the one who's having to come out and say something? Why didn't he jump ahead of this? So he's got to own it too. So both of y'all, good luck tomorrow or whenever y'all do it. Good luck.
All right. Now with that, let me get to the super chat so we can get everybody on down the road and see what's going on. So Bella Charge for $5 New Zealand dollars says, "What up, Fockers?" Thank you, Bella Charge. I appreciate it. Commander Darklight for $7.99 Aussie says, "This is going to be a great show." Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Let's see here. Why Kick a Moo Cow number 855 for 5 Aussie says, "Can't we just make Shawn drink a beer out of a sweaty boot and move on?" What do you think there, Shawn?
One minor problem. I actually don't drink alcohol.
Okay, well, we can make it a root beer.
Make it a root beer. I'd do it.
All right. Wit Twit said, "Did Shawn use any of the fundraiser monies to get his breast's medical condition removed?"
No.
PhD Tony for 5 Aussie says, "Shawn seems a very organized thinker, and this series of events seems extremely disorganized. So was there something obstructing his thinking here?" And I believe we answered that one. Fohammer 335 for 2 US says, "Drama aside, team's face is why mask mandates exist." I agree.
100% agree. The moment I stop going off of the moment I start going back to the fucking Avatar full time, mask mandates across America will go away. That's why I continue to fucking put my face on there for health.
Ricky Bobby for 5 USD. His message was deleted. I appreciate that. If you have a message, Ricky Bobby, and it sounds something like Ricky Booby, then tag me in the chat. We'll find it. Commander Darklight for $7.99 Aussie says, "It sounds like an unfortunate series of missteps by Shawn. I think he was embarrassed of the situation and wished it would go away."
That would be I wouldn't say that's all of it, but that was definitely a percentage of it.
Hey, there's the lesson to be learned here, everybody. And this happens to grown-ups just as much as it happens to children.
Right.
Get in front of your problems. Get in front of them early and face them head on.
That's true. I'd rather hear my fuck ups from me than somebody else. As a matter of fact, I'll make sure of it.
I actually have been looking at chat. I do want to point something out because Negative Exponents is one of the people who actually said, "Why don't you just come clean, Shawn?" And he's in chat right now saying, "I need to be put in prison. I need to be put under tax fraud." And it's very, very two-faced of that. Everybody will forgive you if you just come clean. I came clean. Now you're still saying I need to be brought up on all kinds of charges.
I think not to speak for Negative Exponents because he's done a lot of speaking for himself, but I think there's still a lot of people out there who are very angry and upset.
I get that. But if he's going to be sitting there saying, "Come clean, everything will be fine," and then to turn around and say that when I come clean shows a ulterior motive. Just saying.
I understand. Kango24 for 5 New Zealand says, "This community, unbelievable. Con artists being protected by totally unqualified people waffling about mental illness." Well, I guess everybody's entitled to their opinion. Bella Charge for 10 New Zealand says, "What do you plan to do with the mass amount of backlash from the community over this, Shawn? As a supporter of a lot of channels, this makes me think if this is where I want to be based on your actions."
Well, since nobody else had this knowledge and I've been lying to them, I don't see why. I understand why it should be, but it wouldn't be fair to do that because I've lied to them to keep this going.
All right. And Rhoda No Less Name for 5 Americans says, I would like to thank Shawn for having the courage to step up to the grilling and for everyone else for allowing enough time for context to be expressed.
Say that again.
Oh,
I'm making the mistake of actually watching chat, so I just closed the window again.
That's okay. It says, I would like to thank Shawn for having the courage to step up to the grilling and for everyone else for allowing enough time for context to be expressed.
Well, there is no feeling good in this situation. I'm not looking for pats on the back. I don't deserve it. So
CEO of Sabre says, I stand by Shawn having to live with Nathan Thompson in his van for 18 months. Some people would say that's a harsh punishment, but I think it's fitting.
That's a hard
Nathan
one.
Thompson wouldn't be a flat earther anymore.
That's true. All right. I will say, yeah, this is to everybody on the panel. Brainy Beaver, I know you kind of hung out in the back for a little bit. I appreciate you being here. It's not very often I get to hang out with the Vanilla, and you had some interesting questions and interesting point of view on this as well. So that's the reason why I brought you on. PhD Tony, it's always great to get your brilliance on a live stream. I appreciate your questions as well. Team Skeptic, thank you for helping me set this up, bringing this opportunity to me. It's been fun and interesting. I have to say, Shawn, again, yes, I do agree that it took a bit of courage to sit in front of the firing squad and answer these questions. Take time out of your life to own up for at least a portion of the things that you've done. I do have to say that I do think there's a little bit of stuff that we're kind of playing a little closer to the chest, and for good reason. Again, you have no reason to trust me or anybody else on this panel, maybe Team Skeptic, but I hope that I have done a good job of presenting you with an opportunity to tell your side of the story while being fair. That being said, everybody who's in the live chats and super chats and send questions, I really do appreciate the interactions and questions. And of course, I appreciate the support as well. You guys have been amazing. Even though you disagree with me, that is perfectly acceptable. Again, disagree with me all you want. Disagree with what Shawn is saying. Disagree with what anybody else is saying. That's perfectly fine. I encourage you to have discourse. I encourage you to challenge people you think need to be challenged. That's the reason why I host these types of live streams. If anybody else has anything else they want to add, anybody? Open the floor to the panel.
Vanilla.
I'll go last. I'll go last because me and Shawn have more of a personal connection, so I'll go last.
Sure.
So since I was here most recently, I'm going to step in. I feel like there are still some areas that need clarification and some responses from Shawn that are not entirely consistent with what I think his situation should be. But that may be because the situation is in flux. But other people will sort of latch on to these if Shawn doesn't sort of come to logical conclusions about what's gone on and what is going to need to happen. So I encourage Shawn to just sit down and think analytically and critically about what his situation is and how other people are behaving in response to it, because I think he is attributing some unfair inferences to some of the stuff that other people are doing, especially in consideration of the fact that he did not step forward until team announced that he had a full amount of incriminating evidence. Given those circumstances, it seems a little presumptuous to suggest that people, should be behaving in a particular fashion. What it seems like is that Shawn didn't step forward with a mea culpa until he was basically caught dead to rights, and that, to some extent, I understand that it's done and it can't really be undone, but it does, to some extent, undercut the expression of remorse. And he needs to understand that some people are going to be extremely skeptical about his claims that he is sorry for what happened, given that he's had quite a substantial period of time in which to step forward. Anyway, That's my 2 cents worth.
Well, if you want me to answer that now, I can. If you want me to answer it later, I can do that as well.
Up to you.
Somebody actually touched on that. Had Unirock played it out differently, this whole thing would have played out differently. I actually reached out to him. I was going to tell him everything, and he blocked me. When I offered to give him everything, he blocked me. That was a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to follow up with that again afterwards. We've been on for a while, so let's
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Team.
Yeah. So, Brain, do you have anything to offer before I go? Because, like I said, I'm just going to be the last little bit. You're muted.
No. Thank you, Johnny, for having me. I'm sorry it had to be this kind of stream to have us all, but please have me back on a much more cheery time. Beyond that, as far as Shawn, but as far as Shawn and everything, I just am all for the truth. So that's all we're doing here, and that's really all I can say about it. I think that anything I could add is really just kind of like superfluous because I was very new to the party, but I've always supported you, and we just want to make sure people are, because this, as you can see in the chats, it affects all of us. Unfortunately, I mean, even though we're not part of it, it somehow can create this ripple effect and I can't blame people for being upset when they've been deceived, especially when they give money over and then they feel like they're not being the people aren't being honest to them, because then it takes into question when they give anybody money for donations to the channel or whatever, like what are they using it for? Are they really using it on the channel? Are they, what I mean? It just kind of like creates a sour taste. So that's all I can say. Team, please, I think you're gonna have a better thing to say than anybody probably, so please go.
I highly doubt
from
it.
Me.
I don't want to. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it like I think this is a good thing. I think this is a horrible thing. Shawn, I saw you as a really good friend. That would have changed, obviously, given the way the circumstances played out. That would have been regardless of this the fundraiser that went on. So I don't anticipate anything changing because of that. But I do want to say that I'm disappointed. I had a lot of respect for you. I had a lot of I looked up to you when I first I bragged about you calling me the smart guy one time. I was like, oh shit, Shawn thinks I'm the smart guy. Hell yeah, I fooled the shit out of him. That was me. I was happy because I looked up to you, and I was a smaller channel and whatnot. Even beyond getting more subscribers than you, I still looked up to you. I still always thought that you were the head of the reason in the group. I always thought if anybody would be level-headed about this situation, it'd be Shawn. Let me ask Shawn. And I'd reach out to you. So seeing this, it's very disappointing. It's also, I know that you've got a lot in front of you. This is the first step. It was a necessary step. I agree with Tony. You say I reached out to Unirock to give him all the information. Why didn't you just make a video about it? You know how Unirock works. The moment that video would have gone up on your channel, he would have had everything you were going to tell him to begin with. You should have just gave that to him, but you didn't, because to you didn't think you were going to get caught until people really took it seriously, until someone like me stepped up. And I hate to say it because it wasn't my research that got me there. I mean, I did my own research, but it was negative exponents that pointed me in all the right directions to help me get there. So, I mean, it just sucks, man. It sucks. I feel for you because I don't think you intended. I don't think that there was this nefarious idea that you had prior to launching that stream I'm going to get this money from them. But I definitely don't think you were being honest. It didn't make sense to me that day. It doesn't make sense to me today. And it kind of feels like you're trying to ad hoc something you think is believable. Maybe mixing a little bit of ad hoc in with a lot of truth, maybe. But I still think there's questions that need to be asked. I'm satisfied with you coming forward and telling us your story. It's not about self-validation here. It's about moving forward with this community and making sure that moving forward, we all expect a level of transparency from anybody that says, let's do a fundraiser. Let's raise money for this. Expect some transparency because it's going to be, as of right now, this community can't move forward without transparency. And I'll leave it at that. Good luck tomorrow.
Hammer. Right. Yes. Yes. Good luck tomorrow with that. Hammer 335 for 5. American says, regardless of what happened, this split the community in half. That's what gets me more than anything else. And I agree. I'm new to this community, new-ish. I've been around for a while, but more kind of as a outsider looking in. And yeah, I don't like to see infighting. I don't like to see people I don't like to see that. I would rather see everybody. You have disagreements, you talk about it, you work through it. But, let's see here. And then I guess this is the last super chat. Bella Charge for 5 New Zealand says, I'm assuming that's Godless Engineer.
Yes. Can I speak on this? Can I speak on this, please?
Let me read
ahead.
this chat then, yeah. Godless Engineer was kicked from this community for believing his friend Kyle. Why should the community others back you not held to the same standards?
Yeah. I want y'all all to remember this, okay? A year ago, couple years ago, however long it's been, everybody but Steve is to blame for this. Now, I'll tell you why Steve's not. Steve made it clear he didn't like GE. It was never this rapid turn of events, right? Well, when Kyle tried to do the non-sec takeover, GE and KC believed their friend. And you know what we did as a community, Shawn? Do you remember what we did to GE? We fucking railed him, bro. Like that was, we fucked him. We talked so much shit about him, and all he was really guilty of was believing that Kyle was telling the truth. And now look at us. Look at us now. We believed you. Should we not be held to those same standards?
I'm trying to figure out how to word this because I do agree. And there's one thing that I disagree on. And that's the reason why a lot of people railed against GE and KC is they made an apology for backing Kyle and then retracted it. That's what got GE ostracized. Everybody went after him. Then he made his apology. Everybody was willing to let it go. And then they retracted their apology.
I mean, they've tried. They put him as a nominee on Dumb Fuck of the Year. We're talking about GE here. You know what I'm saying? The dude's not
And
stupid.
he
didn't even fucking.
Because of all
Hold
that
on,
shit.
Brainy. He didn't deserve to have that kind of fucking treatment because he sided with Kyle, someone that he believed. When we find ourselves in this same boat, I think a lot of people that hate GE need to really reevaluate why you dislike him. And if you come to the conclusion that you dislike him because everybody else does too, maybe you should go back and give GE a second chance. Now, you don't have to like him. That's not what I'm saying here. I personally do. He reached out to me after all this shit. I'm going to tell y'all something. I was a good friend to GE's, and he lost his faith in me, his trust in me, because I was y'all's friend. And now y'all threw me out of the group like that, which is no big deal. I don't really care. I mean, I know I was talking shit, but I was only talking shit about how the shit went down. I don't really care. I've never said anything else about it before either. But when now all these people on Twitter are attacking me for simply calling you out on this. And here you're telling me that I did the right thing, okay? I'm not trying to railroad you here. You're telling me I did the right thing. But now these people over here are telling me, railroading me all over Twitter about being the bad guy because I called you out, because I called my friends out without asking for their opinion first. That's bullshit. I called you out because I believed what you did was wrong, and now you're here admitting that what you did was wrong. And those people over there are still going to brigade against me because I'm not part of the cool kids club no more. Well, I don't care that they do that, but everybody needs to step back and take a look at what's really going on and make sure you don't make those same mistakes, lest you find yourself part of the cool kids club too.
No, I'll respond to that by saying, now that this is coming out, let's see what they do.
Wit Twit for $4.99 says Shawn spent a lot of energy calling Anthony Riley a fundraising fraudster. Awkward. I think I've got one more coming in.
I'll respond to that because I called him out once, and that's because he met his goal and then was still continuing to take donations after the goal was met. Context means a lot.
Can I just want to make one comment. It has been asserted multiple times that this is the only example of a Reg Rhetoric-backed fundraiser where the money seems not to have ended up where it was intended to. That is, in fact, not the case. There are other examples of fundraisers that Reg Rhetoric is associated with, where the money seems not to have ended up where it was associated with. And it seems, it seems to be a systematic failing that there is no accountability here. And as a community, we need to achieve a higher standard. Reg Rhetoric attacks individuals in the community with a self-righteous fury that I have rarely seen outside of film, if he thinks they're guilty of some misdemeanor. Given that position, he cannot then turn around and say that people criticizing him owe him some sort of an apology. No, that's not the case. If you're going to persecute people across multiple platforms trying to hound them out of the community, then, and it turns out that you were lied to, you did that on the basis of a lie, then you need to be held accountable. And Reg Rhetoric has never apologized for that activity and has never been held accountable for it. And he relies on the fact that actually a lot of this occurs behind the scene in Discord chats or in other environments, and everybody's far too polite to hold him account for it. But no,
he attacked me, PhD Tony. He attacked me in a unlisted video. Puts it up unlisted because he doesn't want everybody to see it. He only wants his inner circle to see it. It's crazy.
Yes, and yes, exactly. Because he's a bully, and like all bullies, he thrives on divide and conquer. Everybody feels alone. Everybody feels like, I don't want to make too much of a fuss, because I'm the bigger person here, I'll just back off. Well, actually, fuck it. I'm done with that. And I'm not going to take it anymore. Reg Rhetoric is a bully, and he is a toxic presence in this community.
PhD Tony, as much as I respect that opinion of yours, and I do, this isn't really fair to Shawn for us to be talking about Reds with Shawn. Shawn is his friend, and I didn't ask him here for us to put him through that. So let's let Shawn have a gracious goodbye.
Fair enough.
And then if we decide we want to hold that conversation, then we can go and watch this laughably hilarious video of Reds calling me out. But for the time being, let's not put Shawn in that position.
My apologies. My apologies to the panel, and my apologies to Shawn.
All right, Stuart Bunn for five Aussies says the same thing happened to me when I called out Steve. This whole group attacked me too. This is why I hate this group. You all need to evaluate.
Welcome to the Uncool Kids Club, Stuart.
Yep.
Tony's here with me. He's cool. Johnny's here. He's cool. Brainy's here. He's all right.
I'm okay. I'm vanilla scented. That's why I come.
Yeah. Vanilla, yeah. You like those scratches of micro machines.
You like my new Flash logo though? I changed it on the fly for you guys.
I do. I thought that was a good one. All right. Let's Shawn, again, appreciate you coming on and answering some questions. I do have some follow-up questions for you, but I'll get with you later. Yeah, I guess we can, if Shawn, if you want to take off and we can look at this here Reds Rhetoric video, that's fine. If not, it's up to you, team. Like I said, I've got it ready to go if you want to do it. If not, that's fine.
No,
like I said, let's let Shawn have his
of course
first, and we can ask the chat what they want to see.
I'll just say I am incredibly sorry for what I've done to this community. I let one lie get away, and it's harmed a lot of people that shouldn't have. It's harmed everybody, to be blunt. And I can't say how sorry I am that I let it get this far. And I think I'm going to go on that.
All right, man.
All right, Shawn.
Take
Have a
care.
good day, man.
Take care.
Yeah, he's gone.
I think what he meant to say was there was a culmination of many lies that took place that he's going to summarize into one lie. Because that's
Yeah.
the way it really came down. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to I'm not trying to criticize him now that he's gone. It just so happens that he left right after that. But I do feel like there to say that it was one lie, unless you're going to summarize the entire event as the lie, then you're well within your rights to say it, to classify it or characterize it that way. But it was many lies that happened. And while Shawn, I think at heart is a good guy, that needs to be found again. He needs to come back in that manner, the same type of person that I met when I first got on the internet, when I first started doing YouTube, the one that I looked up to and respected, not just respected due to intelligence, but the fact that he would call me out if I did something wrong, and has called me out before. It's part of the reason I try to keep the group I do. It keeps me honest. PhD Tony keeps me honest. Brainy makes me laugh. Johnny keeps me honest.
I've called you.
All right, guys, we gotta get out of the drama. We gotta get out of the drama and into the comedy for a second. But we've been going for a while. I'll leave it up to the chat. Okay.
Yeah,
John, I'll leave it up to you, Johnny, first, and then you can leave it up to the chat if you want.
Well, I mean, if the chat wants to check this out, we can. If not, I'll send. I'm sure you've got a copy of a team, but it's,
what do you guys want to do?
Yet.
One for watching watching us react to Red's Rhetoric's reaction or response video to me, or we'll just call it a night. 2, you want it to call it a night. You let me know.
Yep.
Oh,
One
that's
for
all going to be ones. That's 100%
I think
ones.
it's
Like,
a lot
you
of
watch.
ones.
All
Yes.
right,
Yep.
all
There's
right,
absolutely no way I'm not going to have ones.
I'm
Here, can I put a one in? I want one. Here.
What'd you say, Tony?
Now.
Oh, he said be right back. Okay. Well, let's get Tony. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to.
All right, we'll do.
I've got to drain my old man leg. So you guys chat amongst yourselves for like 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
All right, chat. John, what'd y'all think? What'd y'all think?
We'll do it in shifts. Team Skeptic,
Yeah.
how you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Hey, chat, what did y'all think? I see your ones, goddammit. Stop typing ones. I see them. But hey, what'd y'all think about tonight? I wanna say that most people, and I'll even include myself in this, right? We still know that we have some truths that we can hide because no one else knows about them. So we lie about those truths when we need to. I'm not criticizing Shawn for doing that. But I want to know, percentage-wise, put 90-10, 85-15. What is your truth to lie ratio of what Shawn said tonight? And again, Shawn, I'm not criticizing you on this. Like I said, we all have lies that we keep to ourselves, that we just know no one else would know. So we just tell it as if it's real. So I want to know what you think. 42 to 58. God damn, you think that was not wasn't that bad, you think? 69%. Oh, get out of here. 10 to 90 true to dishonest. 80-20, 80-20. 20-80, 15% truth. Wow. 20%. I felt like there was more truth than 20%. Wait. Come on, bruh. No, I'm just kidding. It might be. I don't know. You guys know I'm already biased towards that anyway. So,
all right.
But, guys, let's all be honest. If we're going to be honest with what our ratio of truth to lie is, and you think there was more lie, don't let your bias pick such a low number just because you don't like him. Be honest. You know what I'm saying? Be honest. Let's talk about it. But I'm just kidding, guys. I love you guys. I'm glad he came out and at least spoke the truth about, that the money was not used for rent. I'm glad that right there got spoken about. Now, you take what you want from it. I'm not going to tell you how to run your life and how do you evaluate things. You do you. But at least he cleared that up. And by clearing that up, I don't have to get on my knees and beg for forgiveness. Because I said I would do it. I don't know who was there. PhD Tony, were you watching the other day when I said, if I am wrong, I will get on my knees and beg for forgiveness. I will grovel at your feet, good sir, and beg you to accept me back as a human being. Now I don't have to do that.
Sure you do.
But for other things, just not for that.
Not for this one. Yeah, for other things.
Yeah. And I would have done it. I would have done it, guys. I would have done it. I'm a man of my word. I don't care how bad it makes me look. I'll do what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah. To me, Shawn didn't seem like he was being completely forthcoming this evening, and still had some explanations that needed to be presented. That's just my personal perception. But yes, I can confirm that you did offer to beg for forgiveness if you were proven wrong. You weren't. I suspect that you would. Yes.
Well, let's get on with this nonsense.
All right, here we go.
Now, I need to give a trigger warning to all the Reds Rhetoric fanboys out there. I don't think this is going to age well, very, very well for him.
No.
Number one. Number two, I don't like him. So if you don't want to hear me talk about how much I don't like him and how dumb as fuck he is for doing what he just did, you might want to leave your like, subscribe, and leave now. Otherwise, stick around for the show, baby. I'm gonna get going here in a second.
So I'm going to play this, and I will, in the interest of integrity, if you want to join, you let me know.
Oh yeah, he's welcome to come on here and get shit on.
What's that?
He's ready. He can come in here and get shit on if he wants.
All right, here we go.
Ever since I started getting accused of running fraudulent fundraisers, it has basically been a never-ending game of whack-a-mole against the intellectually lazy and the butthurt. I have proven that my fundraisers have achieved their goals, including the most recent one, multiple times over, and to still go over this washed-up nonsense leads me to take a little
go ahead and stop it real quick.
I do have something to say something really quick as well. I think that Red's Rhetoric using... Well, just because this one was on the up and up means they're all on the up and up. That's not how this works, Reds. You've got to be able to show that they're all on the up and up.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to take issue with another metric. Reds is assessing the success of his fundraising on whether or not they raise their target funds. But that is very different from confirming that the money was spent on the cause that it was supposed to be spent on. Saying that they met their target is very different from saying, well, we guarantee that the money is spent in the way that we claimed it was going to be spent.
Right.
They're two different issues. And again, you're being intellectually dishonest by conflating them.
Oh,
sorry.
He called me intellectually lazy and something else. I forgot the other word he called me. Oh, butthurt. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Intellect. Remember that, guys. Just remember that as we go through this. Go ahead.
I was
For those
just
of you
about
who
to.
don't know, Team Skeptic decided to go on a drunken rage-a-thon for about 8 hours, making claims that Shawn Hufford is a scammer.
It was only 4
9
hours.
It was 9 hours.
Well, the total time was 9 hours, but I think it was only the last 6 that you were on your drunken rage.
Oh yeah, my rant lasted 6 hours, but my video lasted 9. Get your fucking facts straight, Reds.
Fact check 101.
Takes one fucking second to just go to my page, look at my live stream, and see the length of the live stream. So that's all it takes for you to do just a little bit of research to get your video right. Try doing that for starters. intellectually lazy. That to me, guys, remember that.
That I am a scammer, and that multiple people are involved in said scam. Why? Well, it wasn't because he had any proof that a scam had actually happened. More like,
sorry, can we pause that again? No, the accusation is not that Red's Rhetoric is a scammer. The accusation is that, excuse me, is that Red's Rhetoric is careless and irresponsible with other people's money. It's not that he is knowingly engaging in scams. That's not the accusation that is being leveled against him. It may well be true that he is engaging in scams. I don't know. But the accusation that I am leveling is that he is not taking full responsibility for the monies he receives. He is receiving money from his viewers, from his subscribers, from members of the public, and he is not guaranteeing that those monies are used in the way that was intended. That is irresponsible. It isn't a scam per se. It's just irresponsible.
Yeah. So a part of this is, what role does Reds play in his involvement in that fundraiser, right?
Mhm.
So I admitted to my role. I was on as a promoter for that. I stayed through it, even though I thought that it was sound fishy to begin with. I stayed through it. I felt a moral responsibility to step out and say, I did this. I'm responsible for it, and you should criticize me if you want to, but I can't let this go on forever, right? Now, if Shawn would have done this on his own channel, right? Because Red seems to not understand the value that was put into that fundraiser by his own channel. Okay. If Shawn would have done that on his own channel, then Shawn would not have drawn as many viewers. He would not have got as many donations. That
Right.
would not have occurred. So you do have some culpability in this, just like I do. You know, I would say just like AT2 does, but I'm not going to say people were there donating because AT2 was there. Probably it's because it's Red's channel and there's people like myself and Shawn and AT2 that are getting on and having a good time. And these people already feel like the need to help Shawn. You know, they know he's doing bad. We'd already hosted previous fundraisers. They knew he was doing bad. We got those people in there. We pulled at their heartstrings. We took their money, and that would have simply not occurred with such efficiency if it was done on Shawn's channel and not Red's channel. And Red gave permission, knowing this full well. He's just as culpable as me. We'll get into the ridiculousness he claims later, but I am just as culpable as he. I'm not saying I'm not to blame for this, but I understand what my value was to raising that money.
And frankly, even people like me who weren't part of the stream, I mean, we were in the chats, we were talking to people, we were being part of it, even just on a creator social level. We were in there.
You were encouraging your followers, like, you know, you'd mention that stuff was coming up in the stream, and you would, you know, get the people who were listening to you there.
Well,
and
they see us in there, right? And they say, "Oh, look, they're all in here supporting them together, right?" So it kind of makes us, even the ones who are very loosely culpable, and that's why people say, "I'm so sick of all this, I don't want to be part of any of it." It's because they do, whether that's right or wrong, they do put us together, and it is right. They're not wrong, because I did the same thing, and I'm going to tell everybody one thing. You get. I think what's happened here too is I'm going to be honest with you. There's never been a time in my life where I've been in a situation where I could snap my fingers and make money show up that could change somebody's situation. And I've never used it for myself because I haven't needed that kind of help. And I won't unless I do, but that doesn't mean that other people don't. And a lot of us were really excited. I haven't had this conversation, but I can tell a lot of us were very excited to suddenly have this platform where, you know, because I think there's a lot of good out there, and we're so excited to be like, hey, this person needs help. We're going to help them. Look at the money we were able to raise. That was so fantastic. And so there was this sense of power that some of us smaller creators felt all of a sudden. Like I can tell you myself that it was you know, because I've had this conversation with people. I've said, like, it's kind of scary how you can reach out to even a small creator with only a few thousand subscribers. You can reach out to your audience and say, hey, I need help with this, or this person needs help. And people will step up with donations that make your head spin. And it's shocking. And they're taking your word as the person who's looking at them and saying, please help this person. And they're doing what I said, where they're looking to you as like you're their friend and they're believing you. So it puts us all in this situation, you know?
Yeah. All right, good. Let's move on.
My bad.
No, it's okay.
Tangenting. My bad.
I know. I was stopping her right there, Brainy, before you ended up on the
Cut
moon.
her off. Yeah. Here, I'll put
bad.
the rate notice back on. ADHD. Here we go again.
All right, here we go.
Frankly, it was a mixed bag of not getting the red carpet treatment to dumb fuck of the year a few months ago.
Stop it. See, that's where. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna be quick about this because he seems to be pushing this narrative, and I've spoke about this.
Well, he has to, because it paints you in a negative light. It gives you motivation. That's the reason why he's pushing this narrative, because it gives you motivation to be salty about this.
Yes. So get this, people. Okay, when it came to dumb fuck of the year, right? Whether Reds forgot about me and he just forgot about me on the last fucking 10, 15 streams he had done, which was okay. He doesn't owe me anything. I was doing well on my own, fine on my own, but I promoted that show. And when he pushed the show, when he brought the people on without me, I simply felt disrespected. Then he called me a crybaby because, hey, I'm not too much of a fucking bitch to speak my mind. And all I said was, what? No invite? That's it. That's all I said. And then he says, oh, well, I got this message from somebody up here, which I know who sent the message. If you're out there listening, I know about you. Okay. The person sends a message, says, oh, Team Skeptic says he doesn't want to come on. Well, damn right I didn't want to come on. You know what? That little bit of disrespect was what made me go, I don't need that punk. That guy's a punk. That he's nothing more than a punk. And you know what? I do so well on my own. And a lot of people said, oh, you are bringing up the number of subscribers. Like that's something better. No, I'm not talking about me being better because I have more subscribers. I'm better because I'm better. That's the bottom fucking line. Okay. I'm better because I'm better and my numbers show it. That's the point that you who live in that echo chamber need to get across your head. I didn't need to be on Dumb Fuck of the Year. Dumb Fuck of the Year benefited from me. I didn't benefit from it. So was I a little bit salty? Yeah, just like anybody who felt a bit disrespected. Did I go run and make a big deal about it and do a live stream and cry on live stream because I didn't get to fucking be on Dumb Fuck of the Year? Fuck no, I didn't. You know why? Because it was nothing more than a fucking show. And at that point, without me, it was less of a show. And I knew it. And I moved about my day. But
so weird, though.
Hold on. But the fact of the matter is that little amount of disrespect opened an entire new way of thinking about that little punk. And that's what he is. He's a little punk. Now that I've cleared that up, add what y'all want.
I would make the point that actually the diagnostic here is that Reds is taking the time in his presentation to poison the well, to set up a series of irrelevant factors. Actually, the fact the team was drunk during his stream is irrelevant to the truth value or otherwise of what he was saying. Well, the truth value of what he was saying. Either what he said was true or it was false. Its truth or false value is independent of how drunk he was when he said it. It's independent of his reaction to the DFOTY stream. It's just either what team said was right or it wasn't. Can we get to that bit and stop with the irrelevant jibber jabber?
Bullshit. Yeah.
And the only thing I'd like to add to that is the thing I said that was weird. The reason it was weird for me, it had nothing to do with team not being there, which was weird in itself. I thought when I was watching, but I was part of the DFOTY panel. Nobody even fucking told me it was happening. I remember sending a message to FDFE. I'm like, why was I not informed that this was happening right now? He's like, yeah, I don't know. So like even I was like, I was on the panel. I'd been voted onto the panel, and I literally wasn't told it was occurring. So I just don't even know what happened there. Which again, I didn't give a fuck. I was in the chats, I was watching, but I mean, I was like, I don't understand why a member of the panel wasn't told. Like nobody sent me a message even and just said, "Hey, just so you know, we're doing this at this time." Like if I couldn't make it, I couldn't make it. But it was just odd to me. It was very weird. That's all.
All right, here we go.
What I suspect is an overinflated ego. If
That part, that part's true.
That yeah.
I mean, let's face it. I mean, come on.
But hey, no, let's really face it. I ain't the only one with the overinflated ego. That's a bit hypocritical there.
Oh,
Yeah.
My man's ego is beyond overinflated. Listen to how he's talking in this video. Listen to how he talks to people in this video. And you're going to tell me that I have an overinflated ego? Yeah.
Well, you do. I mean,
no, you're right. That I have one. That I have one relative to his non-existent ego. He's egoless. I'm massive ego. That's not how it's going down, Reds. Get it straight. We both have ego problems. All right. If you didn't have an ego problem, if you didn't have a slight ego, you wouldn't be where you're at today. Same goes for me. Same goes for Tony and Johnny and Shawn, not Brainy. Anybody but Brainy. I just want to continuously put Brainy down because I love him. But
that's the way that we do it. So
it is the way we do it.
All right, here we go. Here we go. That was like 2 seconds at a time.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Details of what the fuck is actually going on by somebody who, unlike Team Skeptic, actually did their fucking research with a sober mind.
Oh, really?
I will leave a link to Slice Barkane's video down.
Stop it. All research was done. All research was done with a sober mind. All calling out was done slightly inebriated, all right? That's it. That's the only 2 points you need to get, Reds, okay? You don't need to infer anything else. Drinking a little bit of whiskey made me step away and not worry about the inhibition, not worry about your little fucking echo chamber group beginning to attack me, which is the first thing that they did after I called you guys out. I called all of you out, and the first thing you do is attack me, make me the bad guy. And what did I call y'all out on? I called y'all out on not fucking being skeptical of what Shawn was saying, and you Reds knowing that Shawn, I don't care what you say, you can believe in the 1 in 10,000 chance that Shawn's whole thing, his whole story made sense to you from a rent, leaser, landlord perspective. Or you could have seen it the same way I did, and like all these other people are seeing it, for the 999 out of 10,000 or out of 1,000, whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you could have seen it for that and been in the right. Instead, you chose to be in the wrong, and you did it voluntarily. You cannot play this, oh, I'm innocent because I didn't know. You knew just as well as I did. And if you didn't, then your intelligence needs to be, your deductive reasoning needs to be brought into question. And you don't need to talk shit about a flat earther having fucking problems. That's bottom line. I've got a video coming up that I'm about to start playing that is just for Reds.
It goes over the Shawn Hufford rent situation very nicely. But it seems like I haven't been clear enough about my actual position on this. I wasn't warned that I would need to explain it in such a way that it became clear to even the most drunk haters of mine. So let's see if we can rectify that. So, to be clear, the only thing I am guilty of is helping a friend who at the time lost his job. Shawn, who had been my friend years before this, had called me the very moment he lost his job, and how this was a shitty turn of events for him. I was there when he was at rock fucking bottom because friends are kind of there for each other. And when he asked to use my platform to try and get himself out of hot water, I of course said yes. I had no reason to doubt his sincerity, and you, Team Skeptic, you were exactly where I was on that, considering you helped promote the fundraiser in the fucking first place. That's right, team.
Pause.
You were on my...
Pause it. Yes, you're right. And my way of correcting my mistake was coming forward and admitting that I made that mistake. My way was not hiding behind and hoping that if I don't, knowing that by saying nothing will ever happen to me. And it might happen to my friends again, but nothing would ever happen to me. I would be okay. My channel wouldn't suffer from this, nor would it grow from this if I just stayed silent. But you know what could happen if I spoke up? There could be people out there that felt like they were taken advantage of and saw my face on it and said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that out on team. I'm no longer going to support his channel. I'm not going to show up for his live streams. I'm not going to donate. I'm not going to like and watch his videos. I stepped out and took that chance with my channel because that is what was right. You chose not to, and you were on the inside circle. You knew about all this over the past couple of months. And you can say, but I didn't know for sure. Of course you didn't know for sure. The only person who knew for sure was Shawn. I think that's quite understood. But you also believe NASA that the Earth is a globe, right?
There's nothing wrong. I was going to say there's nothing wrong with being duped, but I would argue, and I have to say this as diplomatically as possible. I would argue that having such a hostile attitude when you've unfortunately been on the wrong side of a situation isn't exactly like that. The classic, delivery style of being like so high on the horse isn't really the right approach. Personally, that's what I feel.
Well,
not you, team. I'm talking about somebody specific here. I'm just trying to be real. Fuck it. We all know I'm talking about. Red's rhetoric is just that attitude of what I'm hearing when he delivers it is still this righteous attitude, which I'm going to tell you right now, if my friend, whether or not it was my friend that did it or not, that's fine. Come out and say that. Well, yeah, I got fooled, but then don't fall. If I have a righteous attitude and I'm fucking wrong, I can tell you what, my wife's not gonna, care how righteous my voice is.
Well, Shawn brought it up today. He said that Reds tried to help him get up there and go get the receipt, and Shawn declined. And there's some inside information that I know that what to the extent that this offer was made, and some of the excuses that were given as to what would happen instead of him going to get the receipt to shut everybody up, and this was before I said anything. Yeah. And you know what? The answer was no. I think I'd rather just leave it alone.
This as well. This is something I knew about as well.
Why didn't at that point, Red should have said the most likely, to the point that beyond a shadow of a doubt, if you were on a jury and this happened, would you find the person guilty? Well, if you said yes, Reds, then you should have come forward because you facilitated it just like I did. When it was told to me and I looked into it myself, I found out shit wasn't on the up and up. First thing I did, it took me about a week, but when I was on Whiskey Wednesday and I was feeling it, I said, fuck it, I'm calling it out. And now I'm glad I did. Because I was right. And you would have been right too, Reds, if you'd have just come forward early.
Well, if I may just briefly interpose, this is Red's rhetoric's MO, and you can see it again in his argumentation here. What he does first is try to inspire outrage, try to inspire self-righteousness. And he does that first because it's necessary to overlook the gaping logical flaws in the argument that's going to follow. So he starts by trying to incite outrage, disdain, and contempt for the target of his attack. And then he will continue on, because once you're angry or upset with a person, you're not going to think too critically about the logic that's going to follow. So you can tell this is a technique that the manipulative use to gloss over the fact that they've actually got nothing.
Right.
I don't know why somebody wouldn't want to get ahead of it and just admit that they were duped a bit. Plus Shawn literally came out and said he lied. So it's not even just now. He just did it, as we all know. So, it's not even like this is all factually being pulled out of anybody's ass here. This is, and so I just don't understand the attitude of I'm so right. This is an example of where, you need to lick your wounds and I guess I fucked up. And then you have to take that approach. But because the righteousness makes you guiltier all of a sudden, because you're just going down that hole all of a sudden. I don't know. I shouldn't even. I'll be honest with you guys. When I was brought into this, I didn't know this was the topic today. I was just invited.
Fred Knotts asked me, he says, can you say if you think this, started as a scam? I don't think people had that intentions, Fred. I think there was some deception before the fundraiser was ever ran. Shawn has said that AT2 and Reds decided to do this for him without his knowledge. So, excuse me, depending upon the veracity of that statement and whether it's true or not, I don't know. I don't know if it was something that turned into situational or opportunistic. Situational is a little different than opportunistic. Opportunistic sees the amount of money and says, "Oh, damn, look at that money." Situational gets the money, something comes up and has to alter the plans. I don't know. Shawn, to me, claims to be saying or seems to be saying that it's situational.
Yeah.
If it's situational and that's how it turns out to be, then no. If it was opportunistic, absolutely.
You did seem to be a lot of poor decision making there, regardless. But anyway, let's get back to this here. Reds. I think we're like a minute, not even 2 minutes.
I'm sorry. It's only 7 minutes.
Good.
I'll shut up.
My channel without me pushing this fundraiser for Shawn Hufford. Why? Because we both considered Shawn a friend at the time, and I still do to this day. If I am an asshole for answering the call of a friend, you lump yourself under the same title.
Well, I might
Stop it.
away to go
You're not an asshole for supporting your friend. You're an asshole. You're an asshole because you knew your friend did wrong and you didn't step up and say nothing about it. That's what makes you the asshole, Reds.
Well, and even now, like I said, the continued attitude in this response video is unjust especially since he's not in the right now. We know this. I mean,
and this is laughable too. Go ahead and play this next little clip. I'll tell you why it's laughable.
Wash up real quick so I can get on camera properly because I want to be on camera to support my good friend Shawn, who I love dearly as a brother.
Sure, it is possible.
Stop. All right. This is true. But what he failed to do was also show you guys the part where when Shawn started making his explanations for why he needed the money, I stepped in and said, "This doesn't make sense, Shawn."
I remember you asking when it happened.
I told him point blank, and this was not a slight at Shawn. I said, "Hey, man, there's ways to keep you from being in this situation.
Right.
Trust me. This is not what we need to be doing." Why did Reds feel the need to play the part where I said I support Shawn, but failed to play the part where I was arguing with Shawn about the need for that money? There's a little lack of intellectual honesty with that clip right there. And I'd still support my friends who need help if they really need help and they're prepared to do what it takes to fulfill that the fundraiser.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
That Shawn Hufford is the most clever fraud on the planet. It could be the case that we were lied to. That doesn't make us assholes. That makes us people who have been duped. And it is at this point that the similarities end between you and me. Because while you have chosen to jump to conclusions and have a drunken
how you behave once you know you're in the wrong.
Wait for the information to come out and to offer refunds to those who donated to Shawn's fundraiser in the meantime.
Stop it. I want to say something here. He says, "You guys can come to me." All right. Nobody's accusing Reds here of losing money, right? Of taking the money. Right. They're accusing Shawn of doing it. So now Reds is saying, "Oh, well, if you want money back, come see me and get your money back." How many people are really going to be like, "All right, I'm gonna go get the money from this other guy who had nothing to fucking do with the whole thing"?
Well, even still, if you donate through PayPal, there are ways to go through PayPal to get your money back.
Yeah. And I think by him, that was an empty gesture by him just to try to make him seem like he's some kind of fucking good guy in this whole thing. Like he's the good guy. He can't be the bad guy. Not once does he say, "I'm the bad guy. I did this and I shouldn't have done it." But don't worry. That's what the crows on screen are for. Go ahead.
Those aren't crows. Those are rooks.
Those are. Oh my god, are you fucking serious?
Yeah, those aren't fucking crows. Get the head on that
Sean to
thing.
make
It
the
says
1,000-mile trip
rooks.
to
Oh
take care
no,
of
it
this
says
shit.
crows. Hold
I
on,
can't
let me
force
find the
him to get
crows.
it done on my time frame. The best I can do in the meantime is offer refunds despite me being innocent of
fuck is
any
a rook?
asserted crime. I have to wonder, team, since you feel so strongly about your viewers and friends supposedly being ripped off by Shawn Hufford, why haven't you offered to help me out with the refunds? I've
'Cause I
been
didn't
willing
take
to dip
any
into my
fucking
bank
money.
account to make this right with the people who want it. Are you willing to do the same? If
Can I?
Yeah, I would like to say something before you do it. That is horseshit right there. That because you're willing to refund money that you didn't take means that everyone else should be willing to refund money that they didn't take. That seems
Plus,
a little
this
disingenuous.
is the way guilty people think. You know, when people get caught shoplifting at the store, they're like, "Oh no, here, I'll just let me give you the money. Let me just pay you the money." It's
Right.
always the let me do the immediately good thing. Like me, I didn't say that. What I did, I showed it with my actions. I said, "Look, we did this. It's wrong." That's how I came out and paid my subscribers back, paid the donators back. I didn't give them a fucking empty gesture. Oh, come take money from my poor little Team Skeptic's pocket.
Mhm.
Nobody's gonna fucking do that. That's an empty gesture, Reds. You should know this by now. And he can say, "Oh, but I will." So it's not an empty. No, it's still an empty gesture. Nobody in their right mind is gonna come and ask for money from you when Shawn took it.
Well,
Tony,
I'd like to. Yeah, I wanted to make the point that he keeps on using the term crime. Actually, in sort of the I've forgotten the term, but in jurisprudence that applies in the US, there is civil litigation. There are things that are wrong that aren't necessarily crimes. You can sue somebody for various things that aren't actually crimes per se. They're just some piece of malpractice. And I don't know if Reds was an agent in the fraud, but all that needs to be true for this discussion is that Reds was negligent, and he was demonstrably not appropriately responsible with other people's money. Other people gave him money for a particular purpose, and that purpose was not fulfilled, and he didn't take the trouble to inform himself about it. And I don't care if he considers himself an asshole or not, for helping out Shawn. It makes him negligent with other people's money.
right.
And I don't care if you consider that to make you an asshole or not. Assholeness, criminality don't have anything to do with it. Be responsible for the money that other people gave you. Money that they could have used to keep themselves and their families alive and healthy.
Especially during the time that it kind of started happening with pre-COVID. I guess nobody really knew what COVID was going on, but it's always had to point. If Shawn had paid the full 10 months rent and then been refunded and rent and then been refunded from the landlord upon re-rental, what would have happened to that money? That's a good question.
I'm
Oh
sure
no, they have to give it back. They can't keep your money just because they
No.
can't.
That's not the question. The question is, what would have happened to the money that was refunded to Shawn?
Yeah, so I would have had no problem with Shawn doing whatever the fuck he wanted with that money. Hookers, blow, food, car, whatever gets his fucking rocks off. I would have been okay with that as long as it was used appropriately to begin with. If he would have taken it and paid it and got it back and said, "Hey guys, what do you guys want me to do with this?" I'm going to tell you now, the majority of the people that are out there that donated to this would have said, "Keep it, Shawn, keep it. Enjoy yourself."
Exactly.
So I would have been one of those people saying, "Keep it and enjoy yourself." People don't donate money expecting to get it back. So when they donate it and it's used the way it's supposed to be used and it comes back and nobody says, "Hey, can I get my money back since you got it back?" If no one says that, keep it. It's yours.
Yeah, I mean, it's just be upfront. I think that's the issue here, is that there's a lot of stuff going on that wasn't upfront and we weren't honest. And by we, I mean Shawn. you're honest about the whole situation, that's one thing. Hey guys, whenever you're talking about, well, I still thought that I had to pay this, and I still thought that I had to pay that. So, well, but you were cool paying the rent and the utilities, and then, but you didn't have that forethought to think that, well, I could just do this and ride this until I can get to where I need to be. It just didn't make sense. I mean, it's one thing to, pay your rent 5-6 months of that 10 months, right? As he was saying, it took $1,500 roughly. So pay 5 to 6 months of his rent and utilities and whatnot to get himself in a better position. Couldn't find a job in 5 months in Indiana. And then I don't know, there's a lot of his story that there are a lot of holes in his story, and I'm gonna leave it at that. And we're gonna continue with this.
I concur. I don't think I could understand, and some people. I just want to defend myself a little bit. People in the chat were saying that I was trying to forgive Shawn by offering him a way out. I was trying to explore a possible explanation for his behavior. But the way he reacted suggested that isn't even remotely possible. Because
that apology was laughable to me, guys. I'm sorry.
I agree.
He went. Yeah. He ducked and dodged the words "I'm sorry," just the outright "I'm sorry for what I did." He ducked and dodged that about 5 times in that one apology, where he kept saying, "I'm sorry because you feel this way," and then come back and say, "I'm sorry."
Yeah.
If this also, because you.
Oh, well,
I'm sorry you felt like you were taken advantage of when you really weren't. Like what the fuck?
Exactly
that's not how this works.
What the fuck is that?
The other thing that got me was when it was pointed out. Well, the people who were defending you were being attacked for defending you because you put them in that position, not because other people weren't coming forward with the evidence, right? You could have stepped forward at any time and said, look, guys, I appreciate you defending me, but actually, I did it. And he didn't. And when that was pointed out, he chose to blame Unirock. Like, what's Unirock got to do with any of that? There's no... there's no rational connection there. And why are you blaming other people? Either you're responsible for your own actions or you're not. Either you have the wherewithal to come forward and confess or you don't. So there were a lot of holes in there. And one of the coming in, I was aware of the possibility that perhaps, he had a serious anxiety condition that perhaps prevented him from assessing the situation rationally. But the way he responded was just no, that isn't true. There's nothing in my background. And I've gone, okay, well, in which case, then you're just, you realize you're burying yourself. That's what you're doing. Because and his responses were completely consistent with somebody who wasn't irrational at the time, who was actually in a position to analyze the situation, but just failed to.
Ready?
All right, here we go.
If not, then I recommend you shut the fuck up, because as it stands between 2 original promoters, I am actually doing more to make this right with the supporters than you are, which is funny as hell considering you were the one that promoted it before I did. Next, the court records do bring
Hold on, stop it there. Stop it there. Just real quick. We need to point out something. He said I promoted it before he did. That was incorrect. He outright lied there. Shawn said it. AT2 and Reds got together and decided to host this on Red's channel. Reds couldn't be there. AT2 hit me up. Now, whether he would have hit me up, whether Reds was there or not, I don't know. I'm not trying to, say that I was filling in for Reds, but Reds wasn't there during the live stream. But well before I got there, him and Jared had already made the decision to host this live stream. So that's factually incorrect. Continue.
Yeah.
Answers. I agree with this. I have also pushed Shawn to get those answers as soon as fucking possible. But in the meantime, I'm not willing to jump to conclusions that the judgment had anything
What if
to
as
do
soon
with
as
rent not being
possible?
paid
What
because
if
it
as soon as
literally does
possible
not
is
say.
stop it there? What if he says, "I pushed him to get Shawn to do this as soon as"? What does that even mean? Like it's 10 years from now? If that's the soonest that Shawn gets around to doing it, Reds, then you're gonna have to at some point go ask the deeper, the hidden question, Reds, that you should have been able to find. Why is Shawn doing this? You didn't
Yeah.
ask that question, or you did, and you just completely ignored it to the rest of the people because of whatever reason that you had, whether it was to save your image, whether it was to save your income, whether it was to save whatever. You did it for a reason.
Yes. It also, I mean, based on the evidence presented here today and that Shawn has admitted to, would I find, if I were in a jury, would I find Shawn guilty of fraud? I'd have a little bit of trouble with that. I wouldn't go for the most serious. I don't think that this was a preconceived notion to defraud people. But
yeah, I want to say one thing, Tony, before you continue.
Yeah.
That people like to throw that word fraud around a lot, and it's not that simple. It's not that easy. You can't just. He misappropriated the funds, and that's a separate type of crime. But to say that he committed fraud, no, there has to be there's a premeditation there.
Yeah, and so so from a legal requirement, that I don't think he would be guilty of a very serious criminal charge. But in terms of civil liability, if a civil lawsuit were brought against him, and the evidence I heard today were presented, then I would have very little hesitation in fighting against Shawn, because there's no exculpatory evidence. You should have handled this better. Just because you were disorganized and irrational, a lot of people could say that, and they end up stealing a lot of money. That doesn't make theft okay. And theft again is an overly simplistic term, oversimplistic use of a legally fraught term. But you need to. I think Shawn fails to understand that given his testimony today, if there were civil repercussions or I don't think it would turn out that well for him. It's not a matter of criminality necessarily, and Reds is throwing around these terms. Reds, the way stuff works is that you don't wait for the accused to come up with evidence of their innocence, right? If that was how this worked, nobody would ever get convicted. I've still got evidence of my innocence. Just wait for a bit. I'll go get it.
Right.
Right.
That's
I
not
love
how
the way
it
you
is.
did that. That was amazing. The way you role played that. You LARPed that crazy. You're like, he went total fucking criminal on us, like criminal mastermind, fucking PhD Tony White over here.
That's me.
Please give me time to prove my innocence. I only need about another year, maybe 10 or 20.
I may have to go.
innocence.
I may have to go to Venezuela to get it, but or Ecuador.
I promise I'll return.
But I'll be back. I'll be back with your money.
I'll be back.
Exactly.
I'll be back. All right, let's get some more of this here video. We're just past the halfway mark.
All right.
That. What this means is that I will not jump to conclusions that Shawn Hufford lied to me, you, or anybody else. Based on the research done by Slice Barcane, who wasn't drunk when doing his research, we find strong evidence that the eviction and the lease are two separate things and cannot be combined to form a valid conclusion.
This is what happens, guys. Listen, this is an argument from incredulity right here, okay?
Yep.
They chose to end at one piece of evidence, and then what they did is they went the illogical route of picking the most
The easiest.
unlikeliest way that this could possibly be, they chose that and said, we're not going to look for any further evidence. This is what it says to us, and this is what we're sticking with. We make fun of flat earthers for doing this, guys. This is called the argument from incredulity. Learn. Go ahead, Tony. I'm sorry.
This is the opposite of scientific methodology. The scientific methodology is to look at the evidence and see what it suggests. And you may not have a complete understanding, but you aim for the most accurate conclusion that you can from the evidence that you have. Science doesn't care about what might fucking be true in some weird alternate universe where, some bizarre collateration, conflation of events might have caused some weird happenstance to emerge. No, science is all about what is most probable, what is most likely, what is the most reasonable interpretation of the evidence. And what Reds is doing here is the anti-science thing of, yes, there are these elements of evidence, but they don't necessarily connect in the way that you guys are leaping to the conclusion it does. It is exactly the argument that evolutionists and anti-evolutionists, flat earthers and young earth creationists use to justify their positions. Yes, that evidence exists, but it could be that blah, 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 blah. We've all heard those arguments over and over again. And it's ridiculous that he doesn't recognize what he's doing.
Yeah. Bella Charge for 5 New Zealand says he dodged my question in regards to the coming backlash to this community and an extent the creators that are still here. I agree with you. I think it was a bit of a dodge. Next time I'll try to hold him a little more accountable for that. That was my mistake.
Well,
all right, here we go.
I think to some extent he just has to live with what it is. I mean, but he does need to face that is a consequence of how he acted.
At least he came forward. At least
he did. I will give him that.
And I don't have to beg for forgiveness. Go ahead.
Originally, I had thought and argued that if the eviction had to do with Shawn not paying out his lease, then the remainder of the lease would be part of that judgment. And since the $2,110.16 plus court fees did not match that which would have been owed, then it is not proof that Shawn did not pay out his lease. As it turns out.
Okay, when I first saw that, I'm going to comment on that. Just that 211016, that number is immaterial. That has it doesn't have to match what he owed, quote. That number doesn't have to match, because I can sue somebody for whatever, right? So the small claims in Texas is $10,000. I can sue for $10,000 in Texas. Doesn't mean I'm going to get $10,000.
Can someone do me a favor and look up the small claims limit in Indiana? Because
I believe it's 7,500.
Okay, 7,500. So he was below
I could
that.
be
They
wrong,
actually, in the actual court documents, it says that they sued him for a total of $6,000, but they were awarded $2,110.
Right.
Okay, so the judge, they understand how law works better than us armchair lawyers do. And people know, okay, they're going to cut this down. Let's go ahead and ask for a high number. I'm not saying Shawn owed $6,000 and got away with a judgment of $2,110. He probably, after the judge looked at all the evidence, the judge probably came to the conclusion that Shawn owed about $2,110 and said, this is what you've asked for $6,000. Based on your evidence, you're going to get $2,110. And that's probably how it works. And often, and Sly's about to point something out here, and and this is the causation does not equal, or correlation does not equal causation argument right here. He's about to commit that right now.
In my research, it seems that all evictions hovered around the same fee, which dispels the claim that it would have anything to do with the lease at all. Just a finable breach of its terms, meaning that the eviction and the lease
see the leaps
are
and
two
bounds they
separate
take, Tony.
things when it comes to
I'm
payment
sorry,
and the law.
Tony.
Of the many
do you not see these leaps and bounds they're taking right here?
Yes.
To make excuses for Shawn. Okay.
Yep.
I'm not bashing on Shawn either. If he's still listening, I'm not bashing on you, Shawn. I'm just saying this happened. There's no denying that this happened. And these are the leaps and bounds that those people will take to defend their friend, even when their friend turns out to be in the wrong.
My argument is, what's their alternative theory of what's going on here? So he was evicted over inflicting damage on the property to the extent of $2,110. Is that their theory?
Unfortunately, they don't have a theory. They just say the theory.
Okay, so
their theory is that your theory is wrong.
Right.
So he got evicted. He must have been evicted for some violation of the terms of his lease that incurred a penalty of $2,110. Now, either that's I can't imagine something other than either damaging the property in some way or failing to pay your rent. Those are the two options, aren't they? Is there another one?
The most likely option is going to be that it's rent, because that's what was stated on the claims hearing. So that's what they asked for. There may have been something else added to that, but I don't want to speculate on what may or may not have been added for damages, because that would be unfair to Shawn and the whole conversation, in my opinion.
But if they've got an alternate theory, if they're saying that it isn't rent, then they need to establish that beyond it's possible it isn't rent. That's the difference, right? You run in. I'm doing anti-Young Earth creationist content, and one of the arguments I've come across is, well, the rate of decay of radioactive elements was different in the past. And you're forced to confront the reality. Well, is it possible that it was different in the past? Yes, but until we see evidence of it, we're not going to accept it, right?
Yeah.
We accept the more mundane explanation that actually the laws of physics have been unchanged throughout the history of the planet. And doing that allows us to get somewhere. But is it possible that there's some other thing other than not paying rent? Yes, it is. But until we see evidence for it, let's go with the most likely explanation. It's probably the most accurate.
Yeah, and Jane Doe nails it, and she said they sound just like flurfs. I don't know what shape the Earth is, but I know it isn't a ball. That's exactly that.
Yeah.
You nailed it, Jane Doe. You lovely human being. Thank you.
All right, 3 more minutes.
And the last part of it is the bullying. We're not going to talk about
clearly
that.
States
we'll skip
that an eviction
part.
and a lease obligation are separate. Just go ahead and Google, does an eviction terminate a lease? You'll get results everywhere from law pages all the way to Quora. But on a smaller Q&A site, this quote from a real estate attorney pretty much summed it up. If and when you are evicted, it can only be done if you breached one or more of the conditions of your lease.
Quote mining.
Typically, an eviction
Not
does not
necessarily.
end your responsibility
Well,
to
yes,
pay rent
but it's
for the
also an
remainder of the
argument
lease
from
term.
what is it called, Tony?
My
when you
patience has been
hold on, pause the
misconstrued by
video.
you, Team
Where
Skeptic,
you
as
say, oh, because this person says that or this person's a real estate agent, they must be right. It's argument from
Argument from authority.
Authority. I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. The argument from authority. There you go, right there. Not only are they pulling flurf moves on one point, then they turn around to a flurf move on another point. How do they know that guy's an actual real estate agent? How do they know he's even a good one? That he doesn't give bad information all the time? Like, these guys just will believe anything they see or read as long as it comports with their reality.
Well, there's another element to this that I'd like to explore briefly. Sorry, Johnny, I understand you want to get through this quickly.
No, you're good.
So young Earth creationists have tame geologists and geophysicists and other people who will come out and say stuff. It doesn't matter what a geologist or geophysicist or other highly qualified scientist says outside of a publication, outside of a published paper. It is literally immaterial. Fuck it. It may as well not exist. All that matters is what is published. All that matters is what has gotten past peer review and been supported. Some clown, some random clown on the internet can spout whatever opinion he wants, but until it has been verified, externally by impartial experts, it's meaningless. It may as well not exist, and you just sound stupid for bringing it up.
Yeah, I mean, Tony laying down the law. Here we go.
Sort of endorsement of any kind of fraud. Nothing could be further from the truth. If one day it is actually proven that Shawn didn't pay rent but instead used the funds for hookers and blow, I would not hesitate to rip him a new asshole.
Pause.
I wonder if Grubhub counts. Does Grubhub count?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Is he gonna fall back on the argument that, well, I said hookers and blow and he said, this and that live stream. It wasn't hookers and blow, so I'm not gonna do it. But you know what? No, we know that Reds is gonna put up his false sense of believability and honor, and he's gonna call him out, right? And this really polite but he's going to remind you that he's calling his friends out and he's going to say all this bullshit. Well, you look on screen, Red, you see all that crow right there? You let me know when you're done doing that, and I'll
Did
throw
you
these
actually
crows.
find some crows?
I found crows. I will put these crows on the barbecue and you can fucking eat the fucking shit out of them. Okay? You can lick crow butthole for all I care. This is you trying to talk shit about me being fucking putting your bullshit as unlisted. Get a backbone, dude. If you're going to talk shit about somebody and don't, go back, you see my shit. You can find my shit. But yours, you got to put it on Twitter and fucking unlisted on YouTube. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Grow a fucking set of balls.
You sure those aren't ravens or magpies?
It says fucking crows. Leave me the fuck alone. They're crows.
Actually, I was gonna say that's definitely a raven. No, I'm just kidding.
Rainy, goddamn it, shut up. Stop fucking shitting on Red's dinner, okay?
The only difference between a raven and a crow is basically the size.
Yeah,
ravens are fucking massive.
Listen, Reds, you owe everybody an apology. You owe everybody an apology for holding back what you've known to be true, whether you're admitting it or not. You need to look back on this shit and go, maybe I did do wrong there. Maybe I owe everybody an apology. I don't need one personally for myself. You can fuck off, and I'm not going to apologize for saying that. I'm not going to apologize for anything I said in Whiskey Wednesday last week, nor am I going to apologize for anything I said on Friday. I meant every bit of it. I think you're a punk. That's just my opinion. All right? I think you're culpable for the thing with Shawn, but to be perfectly clear, one has nothing to do with the other. I just think you're a punk. And you putting this quality of shit talking, which is laughable. I watched this and laughed. You gave me a free dub. Why would you do that? We don't like each other. Why would you give me free wins? I don't need them. You're Red's rhetoric. Believe me, I don't need free wins. Okay? I'll just show up to the game and I'll collect my win. I don't need it for free. So stop putting out bullshit like this. You owe everybody apologize, eat that fucking crow, and remember, Team Skeptic said it first, baby. Oh,
Fallout would
so
be public
feels so fucking good.
But since we have no proof that a fraud was committed, I sit and wait for the day it is 100% confirmed or 100% debunked.
That would be 4/13/2021 on the plot hole.
To end this, I just want to point out that you have a bad habit of flying off the handle. Your complete meltdown in November over a joke live stream is what prompted me to block you because I figured this wouldn't be a one-off occurrence, and it looks like I was right. You have before and since flown off.
Wrong. Stop it. I just want to clarify something.
Are you talking about the flying off the handle or what he said?
No. What he said when he said that it was my butthurtedness about being on a joke live stream. No, I've already covered why it pissed me off. Already covered. It was more of a matter of disrespect. But what I said to you was just a straight up fucking, I just told you how it was. I said, look, I ain't got no fucking, ain't nobody fucking crying in your goddamn live stream. Okay? Nobody's crying. I feel disrespected by you guys. And then he comes back at me with some shit that I'm not going to repeat. I go back with him with some shit. He comes back at me talking shit and then blocks me so I can't message back. When he did that, I was like, what a bitch. I laughed. I was like, "That's a fucking moral win for me, guys. I'm gonna fucking
no
have
offense
a good day
to
today."
Reds, but that's exactly what Unirock did to me. He was talking shit on Twitter for days. Finally, I started fucking firing back at him, and within hours, he blocked me like a bitch. It was crazy.
The answer,
sorry,
no, you're good. To answer
I'm
on
trying to be
screen,
neutral, but that's why I call you.
No, you're hey, no, you're right.
Behavior.
Hey,
Sorry.
we should call out our friends, right? I don't like him, but I know you guys don't have to feel the same way that I feel. So if you guys do like him, when he starts to act that tough guy shit, go, but weren't you the one that just talked shit about fucking Team Skeptic and then blocked him? Didn't you do that? Oh, okay. Good shit. Yeah. And the question on screen says, did you leave your drunk rant on your channel? Yes, it's up there. It should be in my live playlist. If it's not, let me know, because I stand behind everything I say.
Off the
When you
handle
delist
against
your
me,
lives, you
Fight
just
the
put-
Flat Earth,
sorry.
Slice Barcane, Jared, AT2 Productions, Geistview, and others. And it has gotten so bad that you are now accusing people of crimes based on...
Time out. I talk shit about Sly because he was dumb enough to hit the video he put out.
Right.
And then make that. That's what I said about Sly. I said, you're a one-trick pony. You can only debunk Flat Earth. I took that back because that was inappropriate of me to talk that shit when Red's rhetoric is the one that I don't like. It's not about him. I only mentioned Geistview and Astronomy Live. I didn't say anything bad about those two guys, but I apologized to them because I brought them up. That's it. That's the only reason I felt like, look, given the context of what was going on, I brought your names up. That was inappropriate of me. I apologize. And that's all I said. And then I think Cheshire, I said something off color about her because of my own personal dislike of how she handled certain things. That's it. I apologize to her because, again, that has nothing to do with Reds, and there was no need for me to say what I said about her when I was upset with him. So that's all I did. There was no disrespecting or flying off the handle at these people. Even AT2, how are you going to say I flew off the handle at him? I brought him on to the panel to defend you when you were too scared to show up. You asked for a link to at least Jared said you asked for a link to the live stream. Jared got one to give you. Did he not give it to you, or did you think you were just not going to get one, and when you got one, you didn't show the fuck up? We'll wait for your answer, Reds. Why don't you add that? Why don't you add that for dessert? Eat your crow and give that to us for dessert. We appreciate it, and we're hungry.
I like blueberry pie with vanilla ice cream.
That sounds like a great combination.
I just realize I have to coexist with him on a show, or at least I think I do. I don't know if I don't know if I'm on that show anymore. I guess I'll find out.
Nah, you'll be on that show.
Well, I want to. So, yeah, people will be aware that some time ago, I had a disagreement with various people in the community. And Reds and Cheshire Vic and Golden Unicorn were the big examples because they launched a pogrom, a scorched earth crusade to drive Crafty Keeler off the platform. And not just this platform, they pursued her onto Twitter to harass her there. And she was receiving messages from random people telling her that she should commit suicide. And they considered this all perfectly okay and nothing to do with them, that they had no reason to, and the accusations that they were throwing were completely unfounded, They were on the wrong side of that argument, and there was never once any expression of remorse or self-awareness as a result. And they seem to be capable of generating infinite amounts of self-righteousness from even imagined infractions. And I'm done with being polite, pretending that it isn't happening. I'm not going to put up with it anymore, and I'm not going to put up with their toxic influence. Either they modify the behavior, or we're going to be at odds for forever. But it was as a result of that I could no longer appear on Fight the Flat Earth channel. I could no longer be in the chat on Fight the Flat Earth channel. I could no longer associate with it because Reds and his cadre of, rabid bitches.
Don't pull punches, Tony.
I'm sorry.
No.
That just made me laugh.
I know. He was looking for a more scientific term to use. And
I was looking for. There was nothing.
That is
female.
Hang on a second. No. That is the scientific term. If you look in all of it, they're bitches and they're studs.
I was like, you tell him, Tony. Sorry.
We're there. And so I couldn't appear on Fight. It's got nothing to do with Craig. The full respect for Craig. I think he could take it a little easier on the Flat Earthers sometimes. But, I respect him. But I've got no respect and no ability to hang around with what I regard as a cancer in the community, and either they need to fix it themselves, which I doubt that they're capable of, or we need to, or they need to be called out. They're not going to modify their behavior on their own. We need to actually stand up to them and call them out for their behavior, call them out for what they've done, because they're getting away with it. They're just exploiting the fact that everybody's way too polite. And I'm not. I'm a dickhead. So,
that's true.
Eat it.
Hearsay. And I find it very suspect that this shit is happening only weeks after I had to defend another fundraiser, this time for my late friend Bullionator.
I think we'll stop
beside the point. That's emotional pleading right there,
yes,
guys. Okay? Don't get it twisted. What he just did was to deflect from not answering anything about Shawn, when instead attacking me instead of attacking the arguments I was making.
Right.
Okay. And then following that up with, now let's talk about this poor situation. And I was a big fan of Bullionator. I don't think anything was wrong with his fundraiser.
No, not at all.
I'm not.
The funny thing about
said
that
shit
one,
about it on Twitter. I was pissed.
The difference between the Bullionator fundraiser and the Hufford one is that they produce receipts.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I just don't think
I'm not
anything
that,
about the Bullionator one is suspect.
I'm not even.
Of course not.
The argument was people like Batty and Unirock, and they had nothing to go by.
Listen, this is the problem. This is the reason why we have to call out the Shawn Hufford situation, is because that right there, the fact that the Shawn Hufford thing there was something going on there, that automatically casts shadows over all the other ones. Now they're going to call out the Bullionator one. Now they're going to call out everything that Reds has done, because he's allegedly helped cover up this misappropriation of funds by Shawn. Now, well, what else is he willing to do?
And just so everybody knows, while 90% of all fundraisers are legit, doesn't make all of them legit. Just one fundraiser that's not legit does not make all the other ones not legit as well.
I don't want
to separate the two.
I want to make sure that I am very clear here. I am not saying that anything about the Bullionator fundraiser was illegal, immoral, unethical, or anything. I have zero reason to believe that the Bullionator fundraiser was bad in any way.
But there is evidence to suggest that one of Red's Rhetoric's other fundraisers was highly corrupt. Right? Red's Rhetoric helped organize a fundraiser to raise funds for somebody whose claim was that they were undergoing cancer, and they were associated, and their cancer therapy required a lot of money. They successfully raised many.
I'm aware of this one.
They successfully raised many thousands of dollars. The channel that this individual was associated with started buying subscribers in large quantities shortly after the fundraiser occurred. Now, Red's Rhetoric can suggest that all of his fundraisers are above board and legitimate, but the evidence is that he is actually not that responsible about checking that the money goes where it's supposed to be going.
I mean, in his defense, in that one, this particular person you're referring to was, another member of the community that was, and we don't actually know. It's just that there's a lot of correlations. So this one has less evidence than anything.
But there is still, where did that money come from? Who was spending it? There were plenty of people associated with the channel in question who left the channel because they were unhappy that this was happening. I
had a conversation with the person in question and tried to bring it up to them from one creator to another, simply in a sense of, and again, I'm not going to say who it is because if anybody doesn't know, it's none of their damn business. Is just to say, listen, I don't give a F, but you got to know that this is not going to help you. And in fact, I tried to explain, not even from a criticism of buying subscribers. I actually tried to explain from an analytical standpoint on why it will actually hurt your channel. Because what happens in a nutshell is, very simplistically, YouTube sees that you have X many subscribers, and when you release a video or go live, none of them show up, which means you're garbage to the AI. So buying subscribers, if they're not showing up and watching, they're useless to the point of inhibiting the functionality of your channel's success. And the person got very upset with me, by the way, for suggesting, and I was like, whatever.
I think the appropriate term you're supposed to use is you're retarding your channel's growth.
Well,
fair enough, but that's a word I try to get out of my vernacular.
That would be a very technical term. That would be a very.
I was technically right.
You're right, because it's engine retarding.
Yeah.
They have those signs still on the way into cities.
Tard in that sense is slow or late.
It's just to inhibit. We made it a bad word. We're taking it back. Sorry.
But the chain of suggestive evidence, yes, admittedly, it's circumstantial evidence, but this isn't a court of criminal law. And we deserve, when you become aware of this circumstantial evidence, it perhaps becomes appropriate to, be more careful about what's going on, because, and Red has to be aware of this, right? He has to be aware of it. He can't, he doesn't seem stupid enough for this to have passed his attention.
And there's no question about it, guys. Listen, these people were getting 60 and 80 subs with only 16 views for the day.
Yeah.
And this would go on for
crazy. It wasn't
weeks. It would go on for weeks.
And then what would happen is it would suddenly stop for 3 or 4 days, and then all of a sudden, the tap would just open again. It'd be 50, 60, 60, and we're 12 views, 10 views, 60 subs.
It was nuts, y'all.
It's how are you getting? I'm going to tell you right now.
All right.
There's no way the channel grows like
all right, Brainy.
Oh, I've barely talked this stream. Don't give me shit.
No, I'm not giving you. I'm not giving you shit about.
You were doing so well, Brainy. You were doing so well.
I always take the blame as soon as I open my mouth. It's just like high school.
I feel like I need to step up. I opened this can of worms, and Brainy was just politely engaging with what I was saying. So,
Tony, I blame Tony.
That's right. Yes.
All right. That's a fair way to blame Tony. All right. That's pretty much the end of Red's video. Unless there's anything else you wanted to look at there.
The rest of it's Bull's fundraiser, and I don't feel like it's not only inappropriate, but I feel like that's 100% above board. And I know people disagree with me. That's on y'all. When y'all prove it, show me the hard facts, like I was shown with Shawn, and I'll look at it. But at the same time, I'm not prepared to talk about that. That is just inappropriate, in my opinion.
I agree. And again, the only reason why I would bring it up is to say that how this Shawn Hufford situation can make those fundraisers, those legitimate fundraisers, look suspicious. It gives credence, it gives legs to those arguments. I don't know about you guys, but I'm fucked.
Okay.
I'm not.
I've been up since fucking I don't know when. I've been up since like 2 days ago. I'm tired.
You're an animal. Well, I've been sitting here since 8:30, so I agree with you. But yeah. I was sitting here for a goddamn hour. Finally, I sent him a message. I was backstage,
Right.
quote unquote, however this works. I'm like, hey, is there a reason I'm just sitting here? He's like, sorry.
Hey, okay, so I want to say this, and I'm going to end it with this on my end. I don't plan on talking about Red's rhetoric moving forward. He means nothing to me, guys. He really does. I mean, I haven't talked to him in like a year, I think, other than our slight interaction on Thanksgiving over the dumb fuck of the year. So I'm going to get back to doing what I do best, and that's making you guys laugh, pulling up idiots, people that are doing stupid shit and laughing at them. That's what I do best. That's what I'm on YouTube for. That's what I intend to do moving forward. It's what made my channel what it is today, not drama. So we're going to leave it at that. Reds wants to respond to me or whatever, that's fine. If I feel like I need to step up and say something again, I will, but I'm not going to do that voluntarily. I'm moving past this. I'm glad you guys had a good time. I enjoyed it. Don't ever think I'm too scared to jump on the fucking ride, because I am the fucking ride. Bring that shit to your fucking front door. Anyway, love you guys.
All right, Brandy, say goodbye.
Here, I'll go on camera for 10 seconds. Hi, y'all. I've been here for so many hours. It's crazy. Yeah, thanks for having me, Plot Hole. And congratulations on having such a spicy topic on your channel, buddy.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I don't want to make them all like this. I like to have fun on this channel too. So,
all right.
One of these days we're going to do it
next week on Plot Hole.
Actually Sunday we're gonna have the moderated debate between JL Warren and Fohammer 335 on.
Hey.
Yeah.
That's my ADHD popping in. Keep going. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, we're gonna have that fun. We're gonna have that fundraiser. Fucking hell.
Hey, listen. I was gonna say, didn't you say that you wanted to see me debate Vlad? You're gonna try to make it happen or something.
I'll reach out if you want. I don't want to do flat Earth stuff, but if you want to do it,
I wasn't. Did you ask me? I can't remember how that topic got started. You asked me if there's somebody I wanted to debate. I'm like, I don't know. You offered it to me.
I asked if you wanted to debate someone. I didn't say, hey, you want to debate Vlad. You said, "Oh, great, Vlad."
Like, I don't know. Vlad's like one of the only flat earthers that doesn't make me furious. He's both oddly respectful while being like a son of a bitch at the same time. So he's like he makes me furious, but at the same time, I don't feel like smashing my computer screen in when I talk to him. And then at the end of the stream, he's like, thank you very much. Yep, have a good night. Have a good night. Like he's so weird.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tony.
Go ahead.
He's just in flat Earth for the laughs, right? I think he just likes throwing verbal punches. Like he just likes being in a verbal rough and tumble. And so outside of the debate, he'll treat you with perfect respect. And if you step up and he'll talk shit about how he crushed you in the debate or whatever to some other person, but when he's talking with me, he's just perfectly respectful. Like I debated him on Team Skeptic on one case, and he's just a funny dude, right? He seems like a good guy.
But if you pin his comment under your video, he will somebody comment, he will come back 100. I've got one where there's like 600 comments on my video, and 200 of them, I swear to God, are him responding.
Yeah. Yeah, he did that on he did on one of JL Warren's videos. It was pretty freaking hilarious.
I'm gonna go tell him to leave a fucked up ass comment on my fucking next video,
because if you pin it, he'll come back for everything. People say things to him, and he comes back and says, "Oh yeah."
Everybody in the fucking chat, whenever I pin Vlad's live stream, just go in there and have fun with him. Fuck with him. He's funny. I'm gonna hesitate on calling him a good guy until I've spent a little bit more time with him and he can
Yeah.
learn to keep his
A
jokes.
little bit of homophobia in there.
Yeah. I mean, he's a look. If you take intent into it, he's a good guy. If you take intent, he's a good guy. But when you have to look at it from a realistic point of view, you're like, come on, man. Why would you say that? You know what I mean? Like, why would you say something like that? And I think he's getting better. So I don't want to take anything away from him, but I also don't want to give him too much because he's still a flat earther. You know what I mean? He's still got a fucking mountain to get over. And I just don't want to give him any credit until he actually takes a step.
Yeah.
PhD Tony, say goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for having me on the stream, Johnny. You're a fantastic moderator. Good work.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, it's time for me to get the fuck out of here because God bless America. Working a real job and then doing this stuff, it's fun, but it takes it out on you. You know, that guy over there. Wait. That guy over there knows.
Enjoy the crows, Red. Enjoy the crows. That's all I got.
Yeah, I've been busy all week.
I do want to point out that you do need to check out Negative Exponents. He's the one who did bring a lot of this information to Team Skeptic and my attention. He's got a couple of videos out. One is out. I guess he's got another one coming out. You said what? Friday? Yeah. And Les Hemmings. I'm not sure why you were timed out, but I trust my mods, so there's that. Anyway, good night, everybody. I'm tired. It's time. It's time to get fucked.
Later.
Keep you busy.